Chapter 592. Seeing such a big reaction from the five-clawed golden dragon, Tang Zheng looked at it in amazement. The five-clawed golden dragon had always been calm in the face of changes. For a creature that had lived for who knows how many years, there were very few things that could surprise it. "Are you sure it's the tree of life?" the five-clawed golden dragon asked in bewilderment. Tang Zheng nodded. "It's absolutely true." The five-clawed golden dragon took a deep breath and said, "No wonder you can cultivate the dragon mark. It's all because of the tree of life. When the tree of life is born, the aura it emits is the most original energy between heaven and earth. It has the ability to seize the heavens and earth and is very magical. You can only create a miracle by absorbing this aura and cultivate the dragon mark." Tang Zheng suddenly realized that he was too lucky. "No wonder I feel that the aura between heaven and earth is a lot richer. It turns out that the tree of life has reappeared in the world. How did you find the tree of life?" the five-clawed golden dragon asked curiously. Tang Zheng did not hide anything and told it about falling into the cave and encountering the tree of life. The five-clawed golden dragon was amazed and said, "Your luck is really too good. The tree of life has disappeared for so many years and it was actually discovered by you. Is this the will of the heavens for the tree of life to reappear in the world? Whether it's the will of the heavens or not, I just want to know what's so special about this dragon mark?" Tang Zheng asked. Degree Celsius is almost equal to the five-clawed golden dragon said seriously. "The dragon mark is the symbol of the dragon clan. It is the source of the dragon clan's power and contains many secrets of the dragon clan. Even I may not be able to clearly explain the magic of the dragon mark." "You can't even explain it clearly?" Tang Zheng was stunned. "You are from the dragon clan. You can't even figure out the matters of your own clan?" The five-clawed golden dragon rolled its eyes. "Can you humans figure out all the problems of your own body?" Tang Zheng was speechless. "Hee, you have the dragon mark. Are you still a human? This is a question." The five-clawed golden dragon said shockingly. "Not a human?" Tang Zheng choked, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Back then, Tian Chanzi had also said that he was not a human. Now, the five-clawed golden dragon had said the same thing, which made him doubt his own life. "Now that you have the dragon mark, you are considered a member of the dragon clan. Tell me, are you still human? F***ck, then what have I become?" Tang Zheng was exasperated. "Forget it, I've been a human for more than 20 years, I still prefer to be a human." "Humph, the dragon clan is incomparably noble. It's your honor to be part of the dragon clan," the five-clawed golden dragon said snappily. Tang Zheng hurriedly waved his hand and said, "Let's not dwell on this issue. Since you can't explain clearly about the dragon seal, let's change the topic. You should know about the Langya Pavilion, right?" "Langya Pavilion?" The five-clawed golden dragon looked at him suspiciously. "It seems that you have learned a lot from the trip to the South Sea Dragon Palace. This is all thanks to you. Tell me about the Langya Pavilion." "The Langya Pavilion is an important place of the dragon clan. If it were anyone else, I would definitely not tell them. However, you are already a member of the dragon clan, so you are qualified to know these things. The Langya Pavilion contains the cultivation methods collected by the dragon clan, as well as all kinds of rare treasures. It's a treasure trove that many people covet, but these people can only look at it and sigh. They can't even find the Langya Pavilion, let alone open it. Because, unless it is a member of the dragon clan, no one can open the Langya Pavilion." The five-clawed golden dragon was full of confidence, and his words were filled with pride from the bottom of his heart. "Then, can't I also open the Langya Pavilion?" Tang Zheng was secretly delighted. The dragon mark had brought him a lot of benefits. "Of course you can. Then where is the Langya Pavilion?" The five-clawed golden dragon smiled mysteriously, and the dragon mark on his forehead lit up. Tang Zheng was confused. "What do you mean?" "Humph, stupid. The Langya Pavilion is in the dragon mark and is connected to every member of the dragon clan. So, non-members of the dragon clan have no way to find it, let alone open it. The five-clawed golden dragon reprimanded. Tang Zheng was suddenly enlightened. In the dragon mark. He subconsciously touched his forehead and said happily, "Then how can I open the Langya Pavilion?" The five-clawed golden dragon did not answer. Instead, he asked, "Why do you want to go to the Langya Pavilion?" "To find a cultivation method." Tang Zheng told the truth. "The cultivation method you practice is not weak. Are you still looking for other cultivation methods? Don't bite off more than you can chew. This is a famous saying." The five-clawed golden dragon advised. "It is not for me, but for others, for the people around me. My cultivation method may not be suitable for them, so I want to find some suitable cultivation methods for them." Tang Zheng explained. The five-clawed golden dragon suddenly understood and said, "Many people in the world covet the treasures in the Langya Pavilion, but they have never succeeded. Now, you are actually giving these treasures to others." Humph, the five-clawed golden dragon was obviously unhappy. After all, the cultivation methods in the Langya Pavilion were collected by the dragon clan. Tang Zheng was not frightened by the five-clawed golden dragon's attitude. He asked, "Can't I?" "Of course you can. After all, you are already part of the dragon clan." But the dragon clan also has a rule that high-level cultivation methods cannot be passed to outsiders. "Sigh, in fact, I don't need to worry about this because you have only cultivated to the second level of the dragon god technique. It is impossible for you to obtain a powerful cultivation method." "Huh, what do you mean? Do you think that any dragon clan member can enter the Langya Pavilion and obtain a high-level cultivation method? You may not think too simply of the Langya Pavilion, and the dragon clan is too stupid." The five-clawed golden dragon jokingly said. Tang Zheng was confused and asked, "What do you mean?" "Let me tell you, there are a total of 18 floors in the Langya Pavilion. Each floor requires a corresponding strength to go up and enjoy the corresponding treasures. Otherwise, no matter how much effort you put in, it will be in vain. There is such a strange rule." Tang Zheng could not help but feel a little depressed. "Then which floor can I go to now?" "The second floor." Tang Zheng's expression darkened as he said disappointedly, "It's only the second floor. Isn't that too little? It's already quite a lot. If it wasn't for the fact that you have cultivated to the second level of the dragon god technique, you would only be able to wander around the first floor of the Langya Pavilion." The five-clawed golden dragon said disapprovingly. However, there was still a gap between this and Tang Zheng's expectations. "What are the powerful cultivation methods on the first and second floor?" Looking at your disdainful look, do you think that the first and second floor are very low-level cultivation methods? The five-clawed golden dragon asked disdainfully. "Isn't that so?" "Of course not. How could the dragon clan collect low-level cultivation methods? That would be an insult to the dragon clan's intelligence." Tang Zheng was overjoyed. It was good that it was not a low-level cultivation method. Otherwise, if the people around him were to cultivate low-level cultivation methods, he might as well not cultivate at all. Of course, this was because Tang Zheng had the confidence to be called a tycoon. Most people would already be satisfied if they had a low-end cultivation method to cultivate. Why would they still be picky? "Then how do I get to the Langya Pavilion?" Tang Zheng no longer entangled himself with the question of cultivation methods and asked. "I will teach you a set of methods. Naturally, you will be able to communicate with the Langya Pavilion." A golden light flashed and shot into Tang Zheng's brain. A set of methods appeared in Tang Zheng's mind. According to the method, Tang Zheng began to circulate his true qi. The dragon mark on his forehead shone brightly and emitted rays of golden light. The double-clawed golden dragon in his mind also began to churn. The dragon qi vibrated and spread in all directions, filling the entire stone room. The air fluctuated and Tang Zheng felt his body lighten. The scene in front of him changed and an antique building appeared. An ancient plaque hung in front of the building. The words, "Langya Pavilion," were written in ancient seal script. Langya Pavilion. Tang Zheng stared at the building and raised his head to look. There were indeed 18 floors, and each floor was richly ornamented. It was simply like a work of art. The door opened. Tang Zheng walked up the stairs and crossed the threshold. Suddenly, his eyes widened. 3 rows of bookshelves occupied the entire space. Each bookshelf was filled with ancient books. Looking up, there was a dazzling array of dazzling things. It made one unable to choose. Tang Zheng looked at a wooden plaque next to the bookshelf. There were small tadpole-like words carved on it. It introduced the situation of the first floor. This floor was full of cultivation methods. However, they were not cultivation methods. Instead, they were martial arts techniques. There were many extraordinary martial arts techniques in the world. Tang Zheng was not a martial artist. Therefore, these martial arts techniques were of little value to him. There was no need to spend time on them. He immediately stepped up the stairs and walked to the second floor. The second floor also had 3 rows of bookshelves. They were filled with various cultivation methods. The wooden plaque next to them introduced them as cultivation methods. Tang Zheng's eyes lit up. I finally found you. The cultivation methods were as vast as the sea of smoke. Of course, he could not blindly rush up and look for them. Fortunately, these cultivation methods were organized according to category. He did not have to be at a loss. A cultivation method suitable for women. Tang Zheng's mind immediately came up with this idea. There were many women around him, but there were not many cultivation methods for women. It was a pity. He immediately rushed to a row of bookshelves and browsed from top to bottom. Finally, he stopped at the cultivation method at the top of the bookshelf. There were many cultivation methods at the bottom of this row of bookshelves. Only the top row only had one cultivation method. Could it be that the one at the top is the best? He was not a rookie. He had cultivated the ancient Clear Heaven Scroll and the Dragon God technique. He had a certain ability to distinguish cultivation methods. When he took the cultivation method at the top, he roughly glanced at it and immediately made a judgment. This was indeed a powerful cultivation method. Although it was not as good as the Dragon God technique in the ancient Clear Heaven Scroll, it was definitely a good cultivation method for ordinary cultivators. Moreover, this cultivation method was easy to learn. From simple to difficult, it could stimulate the enthusiasm and mood of the cultivator. This is it. Tang Zheng did not hesitate to put the cultivation method into his sumra pouch. When the cultivation method entered the sumra pouch, a cultivation method immediately appeared at the top of the bookshelf. It was exactly the same as the one he took. How mysterious. After I took it away, an identical book immediately appeared. It's equivalent to me just copying it. This Langya Pavilion is truly mysterious and strange. Tang Zheng clicked his tongue in admiration. Following the same pattern, he put the cultivation method at the top of the other 2 rows of bookshelves into his sumra pouch. They were cultivation methods suitable for men and demon beasts. The dragon race enslaved tens of thousands of demon beasts. Of course, they would collect their cultivation methods. Tang Zheng now had 3 demon beasts under him. They were Xiaobai, Gui Qiansui, and Thundercloud Beast. He wanted to see if this cultivation method could help them. Achieving his goal, Tang Zheng was overjoyed. His eyes inadvertently swept to the stairs leading to the 3rd floor. His heart moved. What is on the 3rd floor? Chapter 593. Staring at the stairs leading to the 3rd floor, Tang Zheng struggled with his thoughts. In the end, he gritted his teeth and said, "The 5-clawed golden dragon said that I can only reach the 2nd floor. Will there be another miracle this time?" He lifted his foot and stepped on the stairs. Boom! As soon as his feet landed on the stairs, a huge repulsive force hit his body from the stairs. His face suddenly changed, and he hurriedly activated his genuine qi to resist the force. He held on for a minute, but his other foot could not reach the 2nd step. With a loud bang, he flew backward. The scene in front of him changed. The Langya Pavilion disappeared, and he returned to the underground of the imperial city. His face was pale, and his legs could not stop trembling. Miracles did not always happen. This time, the five-clawed golden dragon was right. He could not set foot on the third floor with his cultivation. I don't believe it. I want to try again. He was not willing to give up and quickly activated his technique again. After a while, he was shocked and could not help but exclaim, "Hey, why is there no reaction? Why can't I reach the Langya Pavilion? Do you think you can go to the Langya Pavilion as you please?" The five-clawed golden dragon's voice rang in his ears. Tang Zheng was stunned and looked at it suspiciously. He asked, "What do you mean?" The five-clawed golden dragon rolled its eyes and said, "The Langya Pavilion is an important place of the Dragon Clan. Members of the Dragon Clan only have one chance to enter the Langya Pavilion every month, and each time there is a time limit. You only have a quarter of an hour." Tang Zheng suddenly understood, but he was immediately suspicious. "I didn't have a quarter of an hour just now." The five-clawed golden dragon laughed evilly, "Of course not. I'm afraid you didn't listen to my judgment and tried to set foot on the third floor, right? How do you know?" Of course I know. You're really overestimating yourself. The Langya Pavilion was discovered by the ancestors of the Dragon Clan and was built into the Langya Pavilion. The rules were set by the ancestors. Do you think you can break the rules of the Langya Pavilion? You were repulsed by the Langya Pavilion and were forced to leave, so you can't enter this month. The five-clawed golden dragon laughed gloatingly. So that's how it is. Could it be that no one is an exception to this rule? Tang Zheng asked, unwilling to give up. Of course not. No one can violate the rules of the Dragon Clan's ancestors. The five-clawed golden dragon said with certainty. Tang Zheng sighed inwardly. Since that was the case, he should not be restless in the future. Otherwise, it would not be worth it if he was kicked out of the Langya Pavilion after so much difficulty. However, he silently made up his mind. I will never give up on cultivating the Dragon God technique in the future because the Dragon God technique is related to the Langya Pavilion. I don't know what other treasures are upstairs. I must go upstairs. Seeing that Tang Zheng was deflated, the five-clawed golden dragon brazenly rejoiced for a while, and then said in a deep voice, "Since you have become a member of the Dragon Clan, then you will be able to cultivate the Dragon God's secret art much faster than before. The Dragon God's secret art is an exquisite cultivation method of the Dragon Clan. It will help you reach the spirit severing stage as soon as possible, and help me leave this place." Looking at his desperate mood, Tang Zheng couldn't help but say, "I'm only at the 7th grade of fasting. I'm still thousands of miles away from the deification stage." That's not necessarily true. You have created miracles time and time again. I think the time for me to break out of this cage is not far away. The five-clawed golden dragon was full of confidence. How was your trip to the Southern Sea Dragon Palace? The harvest was not small. However, the surroundings of the Southern Sea Dragon Palace were not as desolate as you said. It was quite lively with many sea demons gathered. Even the Dragon Palace was occupied and became the lair of the sea demons. They dare to occupy the Dragon Palace. What a big bastard. If I see these sea demons, I will definitely tear them into pieces. The five-clawed golden dragon showed his might and said with a murderous aura. Although the Dragon Palace was abandoned by the Dragon Clan, with the pride of the Dragon Clan, they would not allow other sea demons to occupy their lair. Those sea demons have no chance to occupy the Dragon Palace because I have already destroyed it. Tang Zheng said. Destroyed? The five-clawed golden dragon's huge eyes widened as he stared at Tang Zheng. His dragon's aura erupted and enveloped Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng was not afraid and said casually, "I took away the black stone of heaven and earth and the Dragon Palace collapsed." The five-clawed golden dragon's aura collapsed and he sighed faintly. "Yes, the black stone of heaven and earth is the cornerstone of the Dragon Palace. Without the black stone of heaven and earth, the Dragon Palace will naturally cease to exist." Obviously, when he told Tang Zheng about the Southern Sea Dragon Palace, he already knew that the Dragon Palace would cease to exist. It's just that the Dragon Palace left me a lot of memories. I will never see the Southern Sea Dragon Palace again. The five-clawed golden dragon was disappointed. Tang Zheng looked at him suspiciously. Did the sun rise from the west? He could not believe that he would show such emotions. Seeing that he was depressed, Tang Zheng did not continue to dwell on this issue and asked, "How much do you know about the ghost realm?" Ghost realm? The five-clawed golden dragon suddenly paused and looked at Tang Zheng suspiciously. "Why are you asking about the ghost realm?" "I have a little conflict with the ghost realm," Tang Zheng said frankly. "How did you provoke the ghost realm?" "It's a long story. I'm all ears." The five-clawed golden dragon was very interested. Tang Zheng hesitated for a moment and told him about the ghost realm. The five-clawed golden dragon suddenly realized, "No wonder you would ask me about the ghost realm. It turns out that you have provoked such a big trouble." "Is it a big trouble?" Tang Zheng was skeptical. "Of course it's a big trouble. The life-continuing pill that you refined broke the balance of the ghost realm. This is a change of fate. How can the ghost realm watch you do whatever you want? It's not that serious. Only a few people have their lives prolonged. It's just a drop in the ocean." Tang Zheng was in disbelief. The five-clawed golden dragon retorted, "A drop in the ocean? You think too simply. What do you mean by a single spark can start a prairie fire? As long as you start the first, there will naturally be a second person. At that time, the ghost realm will be in chaos. The foundation of the ghost realm will be destroyed by you. How can they not be nervous? That's why I said that you have caused a big trouble." Tang Zheng scratched his head and was skeptical. Was it really that serious? Did the life-continuing pill have such a big effect? Moreover, when Tian Chanzi taught him how to refine the life-continuing pill, he didn't say that it would have such a big effect. Tang Zheng had always thought that the life-continuing pill was an ordinary pill in the immortal cultivation world, but now it seems that his judgment was wrong. Is the life-continuing pill very ordinary in the immortal cultivation world? Tang Zheng couldn't help but ask. Ordinary? The five-clawed golden dragon stared at him like he was looking at a fool. "Do you really not know? Or are you pretending not to know?" "Of course I really don't know. The life-continuing pill is one of the top 10 divine pills in the immortal cultivation world. Many people have only heard of its name, but have never seen its true appearance." One of the top 10 divine pills? Tang Zheng was in disbelief. He always thought that the life-continuing pill was a common product that could be mass-produced. How could it be so magical from the five-clawed golden dragon's mouth? Moreover, Tian Chanzi had never revealed this point. Of course, lifespan is very important to a cultivator. With the life-continuing pill, a person can extend their lifespan and cultivate to a higher level. This is something that every cultivator yearns for even in their dreams. But the life-continuing pill is too rare, and I heard that the refining process is very complicated. Even for an alchemy grandmaster, it is not an easy task. Moreover, the recipe for the life-continuing pill is a secret. Where would an ordinary person have the opportunity to know? F***CK. Tang Zheng felt that his brain wasn't enough. This was completely different from what he thought. Tian Chanzi had never revealed anything to him. Since the life-continuing pill was so magical, then how did Tian Chanzi know the recipe? Moreover, Tang Zheng had refined the life-continuing pill more than once, so it wasn't as complicated as what the five-clawed golden dragon said. Originally, when he was at the peak of the ordinary balance mountain, he succeeded in refining 3 life-continuing pills in one try. One must know that at that time, he was only at the 3rd grade body refining realm, so his control of qi and fire was not very high. If he could refine the life-continuing pill with this kind of cultivation, then was the life-continuing pill really as magical as what the five-clawed golden dragon said? In addition, how did Tian Chanzi know the recipe for the life-continuing pill? Didn't he always say that he was just an ordinary cultivator? His brain was a mess, and his eyes were filled with confusion. The five-clawed golden dragon looked at him with interest and said, "Since the life-continuing pill was passed down to you by Tian Chanzi, I'm afraid he isn't as simple as he seems on the surface." Hey, you were tricked by him." "Nonsense. Tang Zheng suddenly raised his head and shouted. He had been with Tian Chanzi for a long time, and his grandfather's life was also bestowed by Tian Chanzi, which was why he was able to increase his lifespan by 10 years. Unknowingly, he had already treated Tian Chanzi as a relative. When he heard that Tian Chanzi had tricked him, his reaction was so extreme. Towards his anger, the five-clawed golden dragon turned a blind eye to it and said, "My words are not lies. If you don't believe me, you can ask him yourself." Ask him? Tang Zheng hesitated. He understood Tian Chanzi's character. This old man was as stubborn as an ox. If he was unwilling to say something, no matter what, Tang Zheng would not be able to pry open his mouth. But if he didn't ask him, what else could he do? Tang Zheng was caught in a dilemma. It's really interesting. At that time, I didn't see too many clues. This old man hides deeply. The next time I see him, I'll have to ask him carefully. The five-clawed golden dragon said with a smile. Tang Zheng's face was uncertain. Suddenly, he took a deep breath and said, "I believe in him. Even if he didn't tell me the truth, he must have his own reasons. I believe that one day he will tell me the truth." If Tian Chanzi heard this, he would definitely be comforted. But the five-clawed golden dragon disdainfully said, "You are really stupid. Who knows how long it will take for him to tell you the truth?" Tang Zheng rolled his eyes and fiercely glared at the other party. He said snappily, "I'm willing." "Humph, since you are willing, then I don't need to be the bad guy. But you must remember not to delay your cultivation," the five-clawed golden dragon warned. "Let's not talk about the life-prolonging pill. Why don't you talk about the ghost realm?" Tang Zheng asked, changing the topic. "Do you know how many realms there are in this world?" The five-clawed golden dragon threw out a strange question. "How many realms?" Tang Zheng was confused. "How would I know?" Chapter 594. 3,000 large worlds, 9,000 small worlds. Tang Zheng was truly shocked by this number. It turned out that there were so many worlds and he was just a drop in the ocean. Even the world he was in was insignificant. The five-clawed golden dragon was very satisfied with Tang Zheng's reaction and said, "Now you know how powerful it is? What is a large world and what is a small world?" Tang Zheng pondered for a moment and asked. The five-clawed golden dragon pointed at his feet and said, "A large world and a small world are divided according to power. This world used to be a large world, but now it has been downgraded to a small world." "Why would this world be downgraded?" Tang Zheng was slightly surprised. "Because its power has weakened, it will naturally be downgraded." Strength weakened? Tang Zheng instantly thought of the expulsion of the cultivators. Without the cultivators in this world, the power of humans had indeed weakened a lot. "It seems that you have already guessed it." "You guessed right." The five-clawed golden dragon seemed to have seen through his thoughts. "Then, when the cultivators return, will this world be upgraded to a large world?" "Of course." "Who exactly made these rules?" The five-clawed golden dragon pointed to the sky, the heavenly Tao. "All of these rules are evolved from the heavenly Tao and cannot be interfered with by humans." Tang Zheng felt as if a bell had struck. This series of information had really subverted his worldview. What are the advantages of a large world over a small world? The five-clawed golden dragon smiled mysteriously. "Of course there are advantages. A small world will disappear and be annihilated in the vast universe, but a large world's luck is excellent. It has the advantage of time and place and will not be annihilated." Annihilation. Tang Zheng's body tensed up. Then what about the inhabitants of this world? Of course they will be annihilated along with the small world, completely disappearing from the vast universe. The five-clawed golden dragon's tone was calm, but the message it conveyed made Tang Zheng feel as if he had fallen into an ice cave. "You mean that one day, this world will be annihilated and disappear? Unless it is upgraded to a large world?" Tang Zheng asked dumbfounded. "Smart." The five-clawed golden dragon praised. However, Tang Zheng was not happy at all. This disappearance was too shocking. He had never thought that this world would disappear. Although scientists had always said that every world would die, it was inferred that this world still had a lifespan of tens of millions of years. There was no need for humans to worry about it. However, after hearing this, Tang Zheng was not so optimistic. The operation of the heavenly axiom was clearly not something that could be explained by technology. In the beginning, this world was originally a small world, so in ancient times, this world experienced a catastrophe and disappeared. Humans call that period the Jurassic period. Jurassic period, dinosaurs? Tang Zheng's eyes widened. Even a 3-year-old child would have heard of these two words. According to research, it was the impact of a meteorite that caused the extinction of species and the complete disappearance of that world. After countless years of evolution, humans finally appeared in this world. You're saying that the Jurassic era belonged to a small world, and the heavenly axiom operated, so the Jurassic era was annihilated and disappeared? Tang Zheng asked. You guessed right. The so-called meteorite impact is just a method of the heavenly axiom. The heavenly axiom has countless ways to make this small world disappear. The 5-clawed golden dragon really did not rest until he was shocked to death. These heavy bombs exploded one after another, causing Tang Zheng's heart to jump out of his throat. Since this world is now a small world, when will it be annihilated? This was the question that Tang Zheng was most concerned about. The 5-clawed golden dragon shook his head. How can the heavenly axiom be so easy to predict? So you don't know? Yes. The 5-clawed golden dragon nodded. He paused for a moment and said, but it can be annihilated at any time. Tang Zheng's heart tightened and he felt like he couldn't breathe. It turned out that the residents of this world had been living in the shadow of death, but they didn't know it. He felt as small as an ant, and his fate was in the hands of the illusory heavenly axiom. F***ck, too unreliable. He cursed in his heart, his expression uncertain. Then how can I get rid of this imprisonment? Tang Zheng said unwillingly. I don't want my fate to be in the hands of others. Your heart is quite big. Do you want to fight against the heavenly axiom? I advise you to give up on this idea. The heavenly axiom is the world's biggest law. You can't go against it. The 5-clawed golden dragon asserted. Don't tell me I'm just going to wait for death. Tang Zheng said hatefully. Of course you don't have to wait for death. You are a cultivator. When your cultivation reaches a certain level, you can break through the shackles of this world. Before this world is annihilated, you can leave this world and live. What about the others? The others? You can't even take care of yourself. How can you have the leisure to care about others? The 5-clawed golden dragon said jokingly. Tang Zheng obviously had to care about others. There were many people in this world that he cared about. How could he ignore those people and let them perish with this world? He was not a cold-blooded animal, so of course he couldn't do this. Then is there any other way to prevent this world from being annihilated? Of course there is. Let it become a large world again and occupy the right time and place. The heavenly axiom will naturally not let it be annihilated. Tang Zheng was stunned for a moment, then asked, then how can it become a large world? Raise the power of this world. Since the tree of life has appeared, the spirit energy between heaven and earth will become denser in a very short period of time. This is tailor-made for cultivators, and you are also collecting heaven and earth's Xian stones to reforge the heaven stairway and let the cultivators return. Of course, you can increase the strength of this world and advance to a large world again. Let the cultivators return. Tang Zheng hesitated. He had been struggling with this problem. The cultivators were expelled and their hearts were filled with resentment. If they returned, he could not predict what kind of revenge the humans in this world would suffer. Therefore, he did not have the right to make this decision for the lives of others. I don't know much about the sky beyond heaven, but I'm sure that the sky beyond heaven is one of the many worlds. In fact, many worlds are connected and can travel between each other. For example, the people in the ghost realm can travel to this world, and back then, the cultivators were also expelled to the sky beyond heaven by Noob Era. However, back then, Noob Era definitely did not think that he would demote this world, and instead let this world walk on the path of no return. Tang Zheng's expression was unsettled. Listening to the news one by one, it was difficult for him to digest it all. Could it be that it was really as the five-clawed golden dragon said, that he only had one way to let the cultivators return? Wasn't this the same as Tian Chanzi's wish all along? For a moment, he was upset and his brows were tightly knitted. The five-clawed golden dragon ignored his troubles and said to himself, "Didn't you want to ask about the ghost realm? Then you're good. The ghost realm is two worlds that are interdependent with this world. This situation is called the mother and child realm. If one of these two worlds is strong, then the other will definitely be weak. Because, although the two worlds are dependent on each other, they are actually secretly absorbing each other's luck and power. Of course, when the cultivators gather, the power of this world is greater than that of the ghost realm, so the ghost realm has always been suppressed. Although I was imprisoned here and am not very clear about the specific situation of the ghost realm over the years, I can be sure of one thing: the development of the ghost realm in these years must have far surpassed that of this world, and the power of the ghost realm has already surpassed that of this world. At this time, you destroyed the foundation of the ghost realm. How could the ghost realm let you go? I'm afraid they will dig you out even if they have to dig 3 feet into the ground." The five-clawed golden dragon couldn't help but reveal a hint of schadenfreude in his tone, causing Tang Zheng to roll his eyes helplessly. "Hey, who are you with? Why do I see that you are very happy to see the ghost realm become stronger? Hee, what are you talking about? In fact, these messy things have nothing to do with me. I'm just a spectator," the five-clawed golden dragon said indifferently. "But I want to remind you that the ghost realm is now a big world, and the world you are in is a small world. When the heavenly Tao sends down punishment, this world will disappear, but the ghost realm will be safe and sound. On the contrary, the ghost realm will absorb the luck and all the favorable factors of this world, thus enhancing their strength." Tang Zheng was secretly shocked, silently snorted, and simply ignored the other party. He also temporarily put the matter of the small world and other things to the back of his mind. His top priority now was to figure out how to deal with the ghost realm. Since he had imperceptibly ruined the good things of the ghost realm, then the ghost realm would not let it go and would try their best to find out the situation. After listening to Tang Zheng's request, the five-clawed golden dragon smiled and said, "You want me to teach you how to deal with the ghost realm?" "Yes." Tang Zheng was not polite. "If I die early, then you won't be able to see the light of day again. We are grasshoppers on the same rope." "That's right, then why are you so sure that I have a way to deal with the ghost realm?" Tang Zheng was slightly startled. He was desperate before, and was not sure that the five-clawed golden dragon had a way to deal with it. But at this moment, after hearing its words, Tang Zheng immediately concluded that it had a way to deal with it. He was desperate and had actually hit the jackpot. "If you have a way, then say it. Don't talk nonsense." Seeing that it was pretending to be profound, Tang Zheng angrily urged. The five-clawed golden dragon sighed helplessly and said, "You are begging me, yet you still have this kind of attitude. If it was before, I would never tell you, but this time I can make an exception for you." Tang Zheng curled his lips. What exception? Wasn't it worried that Tang Zheng would have an accident, then it would have no hope of escaping? "You listen to me, kill the people who took the life-prolonging pill and eliminate the hidden dangers of the ghost realm. Naturally, success will come naturally." "Kill them?" Tang Zheng was incredulous. Was there a mistake? Why would he want to kill those innocent people? Moreover, wasn't his grandfather Tang Dahai one of them? How could he do it? It was ridiculous. He glared fiercely at the five-clawed golden dragon and said in a deep voice, "Can you stop joking? I won't kill those people." The five-clawed golden dragon shook its head and sighed, "You are too soft-hearted. Anyway, they are people who are about to die. If you kill them, naturally no one will suspect you." "No. If I say no, it means no." Chapter 595. After a long time, the five-clawed golden dragon slowly opened his eyes and said, "If it was in the past, I wouldn't talk so much nonsense with you. This won't do, that won't do." Tang Zheng was not afraid at all and looked at him proudly. This was a matter of principle, how could he agree so easily? "I really don't know what to do with you, but after thinking hard, I finally found another way." "Don't keep me in suspense, what is it?" Tang Zheng couldn't force him. He urged impatiently, although he used a concealment technique on his grandfather and Nana so that the ghost realm couldn't track the two for the time being. But that was not a long-term solution. He destroyed the foundation of the ghost realm and caused them to lose their soldiers. The ghost realm would definitely try their best to find the culprit. At that time, when Tang Zheng was found, the ghost realm would not just send a few ghost generals or ghost marshals to deal with him, but would definitely send more powerful experts. Tang Zheng might not be able to cope with it. Therefore, he had to plan ahead and completely remove himself from this matter. Let the ghost realm be in chaos, so that they have no time to care about the East, then you will naturally be safe. The five-clawed golden dragon said lightly. Let the ghost realm be in chaos? Tang Zheng's eyes widened. Do I have such great ability? You don't. Indeed, you didn't, and this method was impossible to succeed in the past. But now, there is a glimmer of hope, and this glimmer of hope is related to you. I really feel that this is the will of the heavens. Could it be that all of this is the arrangement of the heavens? Heaven's will? Don't talk nonsense, tell me quickly what the method is. The tree of life, this method depends on the tree of life. The tree of life is the most original energy of this world. Not only can it transform the spiritual energy and the environment, but it can also absorb the energy of other worlds to supplement this world. Tang Zheng seemed to understand. You mean the tree of life can absorb the energy of the ghost realm and transfer it to this world? Of course, not every world has the tree of life, so the tree of life is very important to a world and must not be damaged. Otherwise, the world's luck will be greatly reduced, and even suffer a disaster. The five-clawed golden dragon said solemnly. Tang Zheng nodded. After absorbing the energy of the world of spirits and souls, will the world of spirits and souls be able to trace the source? Of course not. The miraculous nature of the tree of life is not something that can be traced by humans. Only then did Tang Zheng feel relieved. If the tree of life had absorbed the energy of the ghost realm, it would have caused a commotion in the ghost realm, causing them to have no time to investigate Tang Zheng. This diversion was indeed effective. Then how can the tree of life absorb the energy of the ghost realm? The five-clawed golden dragon smiled mysteriously and explained. Tang Zheng engraved it in his heart, but to use this technique, he had to get close to the tree of life, which meant that he had to go to the desert again. Tang Zheng silently made up his mind to find a time to meet the tree of life as soon as possible. I'm looking forward to the day when you turn the ghost realm upside down. The five-clawed golden dragon smirked. The next day, he immersed himself in his school life. Even though he was given preferential treatment, he still had to put on an act. He couldn't skip classes so soon after school started. After a day of classes, Tang Zheng returned to his dorm with his roommates. Now that he had Wu, who was like a shadow, he actually liked to stay on campus. Otherwise, she would follow him closely. However, he did not stay idle for too long. Yi Dingdong's roommate, Li Fangfei, called. Li Fangfei and Zhou Yan had officially developed into a couple, and Zhou Yan was unable to resist her pursuit. Li Fangfei asked Tang Zheng if he knew what happened to Yi Dingdong's family. Today, during class, Yi Dingdang was called away by her family. It seemed that her expression was very serious, as if something bad had happened to her family. Something bad? Tang Zheng was startled. The Ye family was one of the few great families. What kind of accident could happen? Moreover, the Chu family's patriarch had fallen, and the other three families had eaten up a portion of the Chu family's business, especially the Song family. Now that the three families were in a stalemate, although the Ye family was still a little weak, with Yi Xuanji as the pillar, the other families did not dare to rashly do anything to the Ye family. Therefore, what could happen to the Ye family? Hearing that Tang Jing didn't understand, Li Fangfei advised, Tang Jing, Ding Dang cares a lot about you. Now that something big has happened to her family, she must be at her weakest. You should show some concern. Although at first, Li Fangfei didn't think highly of Tang Zheng and Yi Dingdang, and even felt indignant towards Yi Dingdang chasing after Tang Zheng. However, time and time again, reality proved that Tang Zheng was not as simple as he seemed on the surface. In private, Zhou Yan had even said that in the entire 502 dorm, Lao San was the most unfathomable person. His mysteriousness and strength might far surpass the imagination of ordinary people. Li Fangfei already knew that Zhou Yan came from an official's family, and that his father's position was not small. He had been influenced since he was young, and had trained a pair of eyes and ears. Although he didn't usually show it, his heart was like a mirror, and he was very good at judging people. Since he did this, Li Fangfei stopped looking down on Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng was secretly ashamed. During this period of time, he had neglected Yi Dingdang. He had originally planned to meet her when school started, but because of Sinusaurus's matter, it was delayed. Tang Zheng, there's something I have to say. Dingdang has always been a proud girl, but she put down her dignity for you and treated you wholeheartedly, treating you as the center of her world. But from what I can see, your feelings for her have always been erratic, and many of your actions don't seem like what a boyfriend would do to his girlfriend. As a girl, I think that Dingdang is really pitiful. Li Fangfei took a deep breath and said. Pitiful? Tang Zheng suddenly froze, stunned by these two words. Was my behavior really that bad? He couldn't help but recall the bits and pieces of Yi Dingdang, and suddenly, he realized that Li Fangfei had hit the nail on the head. He was very concerned about Yi Dingdang, and didn't even ask her to watch a movie or go to the library to read. In short, they didn't do anything that a normal couple should do. Even he, Fang Shishir and Lu Qingmei didn't do anything that a couple should do. In addition, during the process of the two of them getting along, it was mostly Yi Dingdang who took the initiative, and even tirelessly chased after him. He had always been used to it, but now that he thought about it, he realized how difficult it was for a girl to do this. I understand, thank you. Tang Zheng said solemnly. If you know, you have to take action. Do you understand? Li Fangfei warned. Understood. Tang Zheng's reply was firm and decisive. Since he had to take action, he naturally had to carry it out immediately. Without hesitation, he left the school and went straight to the Ye family. Although he knew that he wasn't welcomed in the Ye family, Yi Dingdang had done so much for him. What was the big deal if he went to the Ye family and suffered a little? Yi Dingdang had always insisted on being together with him despite the opposition of the majority of the Yi clan. Thus, him coming to the Yi clan without any hesitation was a response and support to her actions. She would definitely be happy. When Tang Jing arrived at the entrance of the Ye family, he felt an unusual atmosphere. Stop right there. A person stopped him. Her almond-shaped eyes were wide open as she glared at him, like an angry lioness. Tang Jing stopped in his tracks, looked at her calmly, and said, Yi Meiyu, move aside, I want to see Dingdang. Yi Meiyu looked at him with a complicated expression. She had once thought of seducing Tang Zheng, but Tang Zheng did not take the bait. Instead, he got together with Yi Dingdang. This made her deeply suspicious of her own charm. Could it be that she couldn't compare to Yi Dingdang, that young girl? What did she know? Did she know men? Why didn't this Tang Zheng look straight at her, but instead looked at that young girl in a different light? She felt a deep sense of defeat. As a result, she naturally did not have the slightest good impression of Tang Zheng. Just now, when the servant saw Tang Jing walking over from afar, he immediately turned around to inform her, and she coincidentally bumped into him. That was why she rushed over in a hurry to see what Tang Zheng was going to do. This is the Ye family, you can't see whoever you want, and it's not up to you to decide. Yi Meiyu said without any trace of politeness. Tang Zheng slightly frowned, and said, what exactly happened to the Ye family? No. Nothing. Yi Meiyu said hesitantly. Seeing that, Tang Zheng's heart trembled. Something must have happened to the Ye family, otherwise, the usually arrogant and despotic Yi Meiyu would not have such a reaction. I don't care about the Ye family, I only care about Ding Dang. Although this is the Ye family, it's still her home. You can't make the decision for her. With that, Tang Zheng walked towards the door with large strides. Yi Meiyu wanted to stop her, but it was no different from a mantis trying to stop a chariot. After being lightly bumped into by Tang Zheng, she staggered backwards and almost fell down. After making a fool of herself in front of the servants, she flew into a rage and shouted arrogantly, "Stop him! Don't let him step into the Ye family." The servants all surrounded them. Many of them were martial warriors nurtured by the Ye family. If they were placed outside, their strength would be extraordinary, but in front of Tang Zheng, they were like babies, unable to pose the slightest threat. However, this way, it would be a big battle. With swords drawn, the servants clamored and were about to charge forward. Suddenly, a loud shout exploded, like a clap of thunder. Who dares to barge into the Ye family? Everyone's eardrums vibrated, and many of the servants covered their ears, revealing a pained expression. However, Tang Zheng's expression did not change, and when he looked up, a somewhat familiar face entered his sight. This familiarity was not because he knew Tang Zheng, but because his facial features gave Tang Zheng a sense of familiarity. This was because Tang Zheng could tell at a glance that he was Yi Xuanji's other son, the eldest of the Ye family, Yi Tianming. Yi Tianming was more like Yi Tianlei than Yi Tianlei, especially the expression between his eyebrows, which was exactly the same. Yi Tianming walked over with a majestic gait, and the servants all stepped aside to make way for him. Yi Tianming stared at Tang Zheng with an unfriendly expression and scolded, "Who are you?" Tang Zheng was not afraid at all. Although he had never seen Yi Tianming before, he did not believe that Yi Tianming would not recognize him. He had caused such a huge commotion in the capital, and he had a close relationship with Yi Tianlei. He did not believe that Yi Tianming had not investigated him. Since the other party asked the obvious, Tang Zheng did not have the mood to talk, and said indifferently, "I came to find Ding Dang. I don't want to cause trouble, but I don't mind causing trouble." Chapter 596. Tang Zheng's tough attitude made Yi Tianming frown. Although there were many rumors about Tang Zheng, Yi Tianming did not really take Tang Zheng seriously. Moreover, this was the Ye family. Yi Tianming took a step forward and said in a low voice, "If you don't know what's good for you, then don't blame me for being rude." Yi Tianming was about to make a move. Tang Zheng was ready to fight. A conflict was about to break out. "Handsome." Feng Xinyang's voice rang out. She walked over quickly and asked, "Why are you here?" Tang Zheng turned his head and said, "I'm here to look for Ding Dang." "Feng Xinyang, the Ye family is not a place where anyone can barge in," Yi Tianming said with a straight face. Feng Xinyang frowned coldly. She had been dissatisfied with Yi Tianming for a long time. She was disgusted by his words and retorted coldly, "He is my guest." "Humph, the Ye family does not welcome him." Yi Tianming frowned even more when he saw Feng Xinyang contradicting him. Feng Xinyang did not say anything. She grabbed Tang Zheng and walked inside. "Feng Xinyang, what are you doing? Do you think this family is not messy enough?" Yi Tianming shouted angrily. Feng Xinyang did not even turn her head and said, "Can't I even receive my own guest? I think you think this family is not messy enough and are deliberately stirring up trouble." Feng Xinyang had a fiery temper and was outspoken. Since she came to the Ye family in the capital, she had been restraining her temper. At this moment, she could not help but explode. In front of so many servants, Yi Tianming's dignity was seriously challenged. He could not help but clench his fist and said, "Feng Xinyang, you forced me to do this." Since returning from abroad, Yi Tianming also found that many people in the family had a huge change in attitude towards Yi Tianlei. Yi Tianming was very wary of this sudden competitor for the position of the clan head. This time, Feng Xinyang had contradicted him in front of everyone, and everyone had seen it. If he didn't do anything, then the prestige he had built up over the years would be greatly reduced. In addition, some of the opportunists would gradually side with Yi Tianlei, which was something he absolutely did not want to see. Therefore, this time, he wanted to establish his authority and establish his prestige in the Ye family. Especially after such a big incident happened in the Ye family, he wanted to establish his unshakable position and let everyone know that in the Ye family, other than Yi Xuanji, he, Yi Tianming, was the one who made the decisions. Yi Tianming's mind was full of thoughts, but Feng Xinyang did not know. But to be honest, she did not care about what he thought. She was certain that whoever embarrassed Tang Zheng in front of her was disgracing her, Feng Xinyang. She would never sit back and do nothing. Feng Xinyang stopped and turned to face Yi Tianming. She said, "What do you want? I'll accompany you to the end." Yi Tianming's eyes were filled with anger. This was a public provocation. If he did not suppress this, it would be more difficult for him in the future. Then don't blame me for being impolite. His feet slipped, and he suddenly appeared in front of Feng Xinyang. After Feng Xinyang came to the capital, she had a breakthrough and reached the second grade of the innate realm. But compared with Yi Tianming, she was still inferior. Yi Tianming did not show mercy this time. He was determined to teach Feng Xinyang a lesson as an example to others, establishing his authority. Just as Feng Xinyang was about to retaliate, another vigorous figure was faster than her and stood in front of her to protect her. He lightly said, "Aunt Feng, let me deal with this kind of person. There is no need for you to make your presence known." He pushed out a palm with one hand. It was plain and simple, but the palm force was restrained. Bang! When the two palms came into contact, Tang Zheng did not move an inch. Yi Tianming retreated 3 steps. His heel tapped on the ground and only stopped when he stepped on the stone floor. But the stone floor under his feet was like a spider web, cracking inch by inch. Yi Tianming was shocked and his cheeks flushed red. He took a deep breath and suppressed the inner strength in his heart. "Stop, stop fighting." Yi Tianlei rushed out and shouted in shock. Tang Zheng remained calm and greeted Yi Tianlei, "Uncle Yi, I'm looking for Ding Dang." Yi Tianlei's face was complicated. He nodded and said, "This is all a misunderstanding. Everyone stop. Little Zheng, why are you looking for Ding Dang? I heard that she was called back while she was still in class. I was worried that something happened to her, so I came to take a look." Hearing these words, Feng Xinyang was overjoyed. She thought to herself that this girl's luck with men was finally here. Since this little handsome boy actually took the initiative to come and see her, then sooner or later she would take him down. Truly worthy of being my, Feng Xinyang's, seed. Yi Tianlei did not have such thoughts. He said in a deep voice, "Father suddenly fainted. We are looking for doctors everywhere." With Yi Xuanji's cultivation and strength, this kind of situation would not happen for no reason. So, when Tang Zheng heard this, he was shocked. Yi Tianming regained his senses and caught the flaw in Yi Tianlei's words. He sternly scolded, "Tianlei, how can you tell an outsider about this?" The news of Yi Xuanji's coma was strictly controlled within the Ye family. No one dared to spread it because this news would cause a commotion and negatively affect the Ye family. Xiao Zheng is not an outsider. Yi Tianlei argued, but he could not tell Yi Tianming that his father escaped death and broke through to the supreme power realm because he took Tang Zheng's life-prolonging pill. Therefore, it was not a disgraceful act to tell Tang Zheng about Yi Xuanji's situation. On the contrary, Yi Tianlei thought that he should tell him. Although Yi Tianming was shocked by Tang Zheng's strength, Yi Tianlei's appearance helped him out. Otherwise, he would not know what to do. In addition, his perception of Tang Zheng had undergone a complete change. He had underestimated him too much in the past. Suddenly, his hostility to Tang Zheng became stronger. Yi Tianlei had such a big help. Of course, he could not ignore it. Yi Tianming suppressed his anger and asked his subordinate next to him, "Has the person sent to invite the king of medicine back?" "He just came back, but the king of medicine is not in the capital." It is said that he went on a long journey. The subordinate reported nervously. A long journey? Yi Tianming's face stiffened. Yi Tianlei looked at Tang Zheng and said, "Big brother, the king of medicine and Xiao Zheng have a close relationship. Since the king of medicine is not here, why not let Xiao Zheng try?" The relationship between Tang Zheng and the king of medicine was too complicated. When the king of medicine appeared at the auction, he publicly admitted that Tang Zheng was his master. This made many people surprised. Many people were skeptical, but there was no doubt that Tang Zheng and the king of medicine had a close relationship. What ability does a young boy have? Continue to send people to find the king of medicine. We must bring him to the capital as soon as possible. Yi Tianming said disapprovingly. Time waits for no one. I think that we should let Xiao Zheng try. Yi Tianlei retorted. If I say he can't, then he can't. If he can't cure father, who will be responsible? Yi Tianming said unhappily. He was determined to control the situation. I believe in him. Yi Tianlei said stubbornly. Tang Zheng had created too many miracles, so he subconsciously thought that Tang Zheng might be able to create another miracle. Yi Tianming heard this and still did not give in. Tang Zheng frowned. He did not understand the situation. These two brothers were arguing so fiercely. Was it necessary? Just as he was about to interject, he felt a cold and gloomy feeling descend from the sky. He subconsciously looked up. The sky was completely dark. The haze in the capital was not small. It was impossible to see the night sky. But Tang Zheng saw many different things. The dark sky was emitting a strange force, enveloping the Ye family's mansion. Yin Qi. Tang Zheng instantly recognized this strange force. It was too familiar. But the key point was, how could the Ye family be enveloped by such a strong Yin Qi? This did not make sense at all. In the past, Tang Zheng had been to the Ye family. The Ye family's Yang Qi was very strong. It was a place with good feng shui. It was one with the fate of the capital. It was impossible for such a strong Yin Qi to appear. There must be something wrong with this abnormal situation. Seeing him look up at the sky as if he was scared silly, the others turned their gaze and looked at him suspiciously. Little handsome, what's wrong? Feng Xinyang patted his shoulder and asked with concern. What happened to Yishuanji? Tang Zheng asked in a deep voice. He did not care about Yishuanji's life or death. But with such a strong Yin Qi appearing in the Ye family, he had to pay attention. Hearing him call Yishuanji's name, Yi Tianming was furious. Tianlei, what did you hear from him? He is so rebellious. Yi Tianlei coughed awkwardly and advised, Big brother, little Zheng must have found something. Let's listen to him first. What's there to listen to? What can he possibly say? This person came to the Ye family to make trouble. If father was here, he would definitely drive him out of the Ye family. He would never listen to his nonsense. Yi Tianming said righteously. The meaning of his words was quite deep. He was accusing Yi Tianlei of going against the wishes of the old man. This was disrespectful and unfilial. Many people nodded, apparently agreeing with Yi Tianming's words. Yi Tianlei fell into a passive state, but he still stubbornly said, Little Zheng is more powerful than you think. Moreover, the medicine king revered Little Zheng as his master, so his medical skills are definitely out of the ordinary. Father's illness cannot be delayed. If Little Zheng has a way, then wouldn't everyone be happy? After saying that, he directly invited Tang Zheng to the Ye family's backyard. Yi Tianming's expression kept changing. He said in a deep voice, Then I want to see how long he can play tricks. Yi Tianming did not believe that Tang Zheng could save Yishuanji. After all the famous doctors in the capital had diagnosed Yishuanji. They all said that Yishuanji's condition was rare and they could not diagnose the cause. Yi Tianming did not believe that Tang Zheng was more powerful than those divine doctors at such a young age. Since Yi Tianlei was so stubborn, then he would make a fool of himself. Later on, he would hit him when he was down and fiercely attack his arrogance and prestige. Along the way, Tang Jing frowned. Especially when he stepped into the small courtyard where Yi Xuanji lived, he felt a chill. A cold feeling instantly enveloped his body and mind. Chapter 597. What's wrong? Yi Tianlei asked anxiously when he saw Tang Jing stop and frown. There's something strange about this courtyard. What's strange? The yin qi is too strong. Yin qi? Hearing this, everyone looked around, but they could not see anything. Moreover, they had been in this environment for too long, so they were not sensitive to yin qi. Don't talk nonsense, where did the yin qi come from? Yi Meiyu retorted indignantly. Yi Tianlei knew that he would not deliberately mystify things, so he quickly asked, what's going on? The yin qi here is too strong, it's like a haunted house. Among the people present, Tang Zheng was the most sensitive to yin qi, especially when he had been to the ghost realm. The yin qi here was only slightly weaker than the ghost realm. This was extremely abnormal. Hearing the words haunted house, many people felt a chill run down their spines. A chill ran from the soles of their feet to the top of their heads. Yi Tianming, however, could not bear to listen any longer and flew into a rage. Nonsense. This is the Ye family's old house, it is a place with good feng shui, how can it be a haunted house? Tianlei, if you continue to let him spout nonsense here, it will be a great disrespect to the ancestors of the Ye family. If father finds out, he will not let you off easily. Yi Tianlei's face changed slightly. Tang Jing spoke first, don't talk big to scare people. Whether I'm telling the truth or not, isn't Yi Xuanji's condition the best evidence? Everyone was startled. Yi Xuanji was a martial artist in the Grandmaster realm. It was difficult for ordinary diseases to affect him, let alone being unconscious like this time. Tang Zheng's words were like a bell, causing everyone to wake up from a dream. A voice rose in everyone's heart. Could it be that Tang Zheng's words were true? Yi Tianlei had already believed a little. Ignoring his brother's objection, he insisted, I believe in Tang Zheng's words. If there's any problem, I will take responsibility. Creak. His voice fell, and the door opened. Yi Ku and Yi Dingdang walked out together. Seeing Tang Zheng, Yi Dingdang rushed over happily, her cheeks flushed, and excitedly said, why are you here? Her eyes were filled with little stars of happiness. Tang Zheng ignored everyone's burning eyes and took the initiative to hold her hand. He smiled and said, I came to find you. Looking for me? Yi Dingdang's eyes sparkled. Originally, she was still brooding over the fact that Tang Zheng did not even have the chance to meet her before running away. But after hearing these words, all of her unhappiness disappeared like smoke into thin air. If not for the fact that there were so many people watching, she would have thrown herself into Tang Zheng's arms. Tang Zheng's action was sweeter than honey, and her happiness was off the charts. Seeing this, many people were indignant. No matter what, Yi Dingdang was also a member of the Ye family. Tang Zheng had the blessing of 8 lifetimes to be favored by her. Tang Zheng's heart was also warm. He nodded and said, of course, I am looking for you. I heard that you were called away in class today, so I am worried about you. Yi Dingdang shook her head happily, I am fine. It's good that you are fine. You should leave this yard first. Tang Zheng advised. Leave the yard, why? Yi Dingdang looked at him blankly. The yin qi in this yard is too heavy. It is not good for your health. Yi Dingdang has a purine body. It belongs to the yin qi. If she is in a place with strong yin qi for a long time, the yin qi will easily invade her body and cause harm. However, this remark provoked public anger. Tonight, Tang Zheng's words and deeds provoked the nerves of the Ye family again and again. Yi Tianming's temples jumped. Yi Ke saw her father's state and couldn't help but frown. However, seeing that her father didn't attack, he also remained silent for the time being. Yi Dingdang originally wanted to stay with Tang Zheng, but seeing his serious look, she nodded cleverly. Okay, I will listen to you. If it was before, she might argue a few words, but today, Tang Jing moved her too much, so she seemed to have become a well-behaved sheep. Looking at Yi Dingdong's reaction, many people were surprised. She used to act quite sharply in the Ye family. When was she so gentle? When Yi Dingdang left the yard, Yi Tianming impatiently scolded, deliberately mystifying, I will wait and see how you end up. Tianlei, you wait for father to wake up and see how he punishes you. Yi Tianlei was unmoved and immediately invited Tang Zheng into the room. Yi Xuanji was lying on the bed, his eyes closed, and his breath drifted. Where was the momentum of the head of the family? Strange. Tang Zheng muttered to himself, and his frown deepened. Taking a closer look, his face was covered with a layer of black qi. How is it? Yi Tianlei quickly asked. Yi Meiyu curled her lips and said in a strange tone, what else can I do? I'm still helpless. Tang Zheng turned a deaf ear and directly grabbed Yi Xuanji's wrist. Yi Tianming's expression changed greatly, and he said, what are you doing? One must know that Tang Zheng was not an ordinary doctor, he was also an expert. Facing Yi Xuanji, who was powerless to resist, if he secretly used any means, then Yi Xuanji would be a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. If there were any problems, it would harm him for life. How could Tang Zheng not guess the other party's thoughts, but he was too lazy to care. He did not have to save Yi Xuanji, but all of this was related to Yin Qi, which was why he was so interested. Yi Tianlei was not as good-tempered as Tang Zheng. He had run out of patience with Yi Tianming and roared, why are you talking so much nonsense? Why would Tang Zheng harm father? If he really had such thoughts, father would have died long ago. These words were really shocking, especially Yi Tianlei's attitude. In the past, he would try his best to be calm when facing Yi Tianming. Even if he was angry, he would hide it in his heart. Yi Tianlei was also stunned. He did not expect this, but he was instantly furious. How many days had it been since Yi Tianlei returned to the Ye family, and he dared to yell at him in front of everyone? What was this? Where was his face and dignity? However, he muttered in his heart about the meaning of Yi Tianlei's words. Could it be that Yi Tianlei was stupid? How could father's life be related to this kid? It sounded like it was because of him that father could live for so long. It was simply the biggest joke in the world. But before his anger exploded, Yi Tianlei's voice sounded again. Yi Tianlei ignored his brother's anger and glanced at Tang Zheng. Seeing that he was calm and did not have a strong reaction, he made up his mind and said, when father was cultivating, there was a big problem with his body. He did not have much time left. It was Tang Zheng's life-prolonging pill that created a miracle. Not only did it save father's life, but it also gave father the opportunity to break through his cultivation and reach the master realm. At that time, Tang Zheng and the relevant people had agreed not to expose the fact that Tang Zheng saved Yi Xuanji. But times had changed. At that time, he was worried about exposing his identity as a cultivator. But now, his identity as a cultivator was no longer a secret in the eyes of many people, so there was no need to continue to keep it a secret. It was precisely because of this point that Tang Zheng did not stop Yi Tianlei from revealing the news. Suddenly, everyone was shocked by the news. Except for Yi Dingdang's family of 3, the rest of the Ye family were kept in the dark. They did not know this important news at all. But many of them were smart people. They immediately thought of Yi Xuanji's attitude towards Tang Zheng when he first came to Beijing. He did not hesitate to break with the Song family and acquiesce to the matter between Tang Zheng and Yi Dingdang. This was an extremely unusual move because no one found out what virtue or ability Tang Zheng had to deserve this honor. But now that they thought about it, everything could be explained. It turned out that Tang Zheng was Yi Xuanji's savior. Even the Ye family owed a great debt of gratitude. If he did not save Yi Xuanji, the Ye family would have fallen to the Chu family's current situation. Suddenly, everyone looked at Tang Zheng with a complicated expression. It turned out that they were able to maintain their status and wealth today. It was all thanks to Tang Zheng. Yi Tianming and his daughter were speechless. They did not think that Yi Tianlei would dare to lie about this kind of thing. Then, all of this was true. Tang Zheng turned a blind eye to these complicated expressions. Instead, he caught the words life-prolonging pill from Yi Tianlei's words. He woke up from a dream. According to the five-clawed golden dragon, the ghost realm would definitely thoroughly investigate the life-prolonging pill. However, Tang Zheng used the art of deception to hide Tang Dehai and Nana. Yi Xuanji, who was the third to increase his lifespan, would be the first target. Moreover, if it were not for the ghost realm's intervention, the Ye family's mansion would not have so much yin qi gathered and turned into a haunted house. It turns out that everything that happened to Yi Xuanji is related to me, Tang Zheng said. Originally, it was unknown whether he would save Yi Xuanji or not. However, since he understood that all of this was caused by him, he could not stay out of it. This was equivalent to the life-prolonging pill being a product that he sold. All of this was a problem after sales. As a qualified businessman, Tang Zheng was still very professional. Moreover, Yi Xuanji was the pillar of the Ye family. Yi Dingdang was a member of the Ye family. If this pillar fell, she would definitely be affected. Whether it was for public or private reasons, Tang Zheng could not sit back and do nothing. Tang Zheng did not care that everyone was still in shock, unable to extricate themselves. He waved his hand and shouted, "If you want him to live, then get out." All was silent. Everyone stared at him with their mouths agape, not knowing how to react. Yi Tianlei was the first to react. He was the one who understood Tang Zheng the most. He knew that he had many secrets that he did not want to be found out. Therefore, he quickly said, "Everyone get out. Tang Zheng wants to save him." Yi Tianming hesitated for a moment and looked at Tang Zheng with mixed feelings. Then, he turned around and walked out silently. Tang Zheng snorted coldly. There was no doubt that Yi Tianming's actions were unwise. Especially after Yi Xuanji woke up and knew about these things, he would definitely have opinions about him. As the successor of the family head, he seemed to be helpless in the face of this crisis. Moreover, he was too selfish and did not have the domineering and imposing manner of a family head. On the other hand, Yi Tianlei acted neatly and dared to take responsibility for his actions. He had the demeanor of a great family head. Many smart people instantly understood this point. They looked at the two brothers with complicated eyes and left the room one after another. "Uncle Yi, Aunt Feng, you two stay." Tang Zheng shouted, "If there are any accidents later, you can help." As soon as these words came out, Yi Tianming's status was even lower. If Yi Xuanji woke up, he would understand that his survival was thanks to Yi Tianlei. Chapter 598. The room quieted down. Yi Tianlei and Feng Xinyang asked expectantly, "What can we do to help?" Tang Zheng smiled and said, "Just watch, there might be some unusual phenomenon later, don't make a fuss. Also, don't let outsiders come in and disturb me." Yi Tianlei patted his chest with a pa-pa sound, and said resolutely, "Tang Zheng, don't worry, with me here, no one will be able to cross this threshold." Tang Zheng circulated his true qi and took out the war soul sword. With a buzzing sound, a black light burst out. Seeing this, the couple's eyes lit up as they stared at the war soul sword. The aura emitted by the war soul sword was much stronger than before. It was like a divine weapon, especially the mysterious aura it emitted, which made people fascinated. "Absorb!" Tang Zheng shouted, and a whirlpool suddenly appeared on the war soul sword. A cold wind blew, and the yin qi in the large room was immediately sucked into the war soul sword. The war soul sword contained a war soul, and it especially liked yin qi, so when it absorbed the yin qi, the war soul sword let out a cheerful sword cry, and the sword intent surged, filling the surroundings. Yi Tianlei and his wife's minds trembled. Facing this sword intent, they actually felt a sense of fear deep in their hearts. The two of them looked at each other and saw the deep shock in each other's eyes. "Rise!" Along with a low shout, the war soul sword floated in the air and crazily rotated, as if it was creating a dragon tornado. The surrounding yin qi surged even more crazily and rushed into the war soul sword. The layer of black qi on Yi Xuanji's face swam, and slowly separated from his skin. Suddenly, Yi Xuanji crazily twisted, his face revealing a painful expression. What's wrong? Yi Tianlei was shocked. Don't make a sound, little handsome brother will take care of it. Feng Xinyan quickly held her husband's hand and comforted him. Yi Tianlei's palm was covered in a thin layer of cold sweat, the nervousness in his heart could be imagined. Tang Zheng's face sank. He also felt something strange. His goal was to extract the yin qi from Yi Xuanji's body. However, he didn't expect the yin qi to be so stubborn. It was as if it had fused with his body. The yin qi hovered above Yi Xuanji's body and gradually formed a ferocious ghost face. It opened its mouth and roared, "Who are you? How dare you stop me?" Seeing this scene, Yi Tianlei and his wife were stunned. They stared blankly at this face, not knowing what to do. However, Tang Jing asked in a deep voice, "What did you do to Yi Xuanji? Why would I need to tell you what the ghost realm does?" Ghost Face Mask said arrogantly. "World of spirits and souls." Tang Zheng's face sank. All of this was indeed caused by the ghost realm, but Yi Tianlei and his wife were ignorant. Obviously, this was the first time they had heard of these two words. Why does the ghost realm want to harm my father? Yi Tianlei suppressed his fear and angrily asked. Ghost Face Mask turned around and stared straight at Yi Tianlei. Ghost Face Mask's eyes were empty, but it seemed to have a soul-sucking power that made people's hearts sway. Ghost Face Mask said in disdain, "Humph, a little human. So what if I harmed him? Now that a part of his soul has been captured by the ghost realm, his secrets will be exposed and the truth will be revealed." Hearing this, Tang Zheng's face changed. He didn't guess wrong. The other party really did come for the life-continuing pill. Moreover, the ghost realm learned to be smart. They directly captured a part of Yi Xuanji's soul back to the ghost realm. No wonder he fell into a coma for no reason. Although Yi Xuanji is a master-level martial artist, facing the mysterious power of the ghost realm, he is still weak. However, Yi Xuanji has an extra 10 years of lifespan. Even if the ghost realm captured his soul, they can't directly kill him. No, I definitely can't let Yi Xuanji tell the ghost realm the truth. Otherwise, all my previous efforts will be in vain. The plan of creating a diversion will also go down the drain. Tang Zheng's gaze gradually became firm. He coldly asked, "Where did you bring him to?" Ghost Face Mask didn't take any precautions and truthfully said, "Fengdu City." Tang Zheng silently remembered this name and said, "Then how can I reach Fengdu City?" Ghost Face Mask was startled. He obviously heard the implied meaning. He disdainfully laughed and said, "You still want to barge into Fengdu City? Huh, welcome. We don't mind having another vengeful spirit like you. Hey, it looks like you're not a martial artist, but a cultivator. Cultivators are almost extinct in this world, but there's still a fish that slipped through the net like you. But you're too weak and weak. What can you do?" Tang Zheng wasn't surprised by the other party's gaze. With a wave of his hand, War Soul fell into his hand. He pointed it at Ghost Face Mask and said, "Is that so? But I think it's more than enough to deal with you." Swish. The sword light shone brightly. War Soul pulled out a dark sword light and fiercely slashed at Ghost Face Mask. Puff. The sword light passed through the middle of Ghost Face Mask. With an ear-piercing scream, Ghost Face Mask was split into two. It became more and more ferocious, but it slowly faded and finally turned into a wisp of yin qi. Keep. War Soul Sword's attractive force sucked all the yin qi into the sword. "Ah, Tang Zheng, what did you do to Ghost Face Mask?" Yi Tianlei exclaimed in shock. Ghost Face Mask is not the main body. It's just a consciousness left behind. It's not important. Tang Zheng explained. A consciousness? The couple was stunned. They had never heard of such a situation. It was an eye-opener. Then what do we do next? Will the old man wake up? Yi Tianlei paused for a moment and asked anxiously. Tang Jing glanced at Yi Xuanji, who had his eyes closed and shook his head solemnly. Not for the time being. His soul has been taken away. Ah, then isn't the old man hopeless? Yi Tianlei's face sank. It's too early to say that. Let me dissolve the yin qi in this house first. After a moment, the yin qi in the Ya family's house was completely absorbed by War Soul Sword. Tang Jing said, I have a way. It's worth a try. What way? I'll go to the ghost realm and bring his soul back. After his soul is returned, he should be fine. Tang Jing made up his mind. Since he wanted to keep this a secret, he couldn't leave Yi Xuanji in the ghost realm. You're going to the ghost realm? The couple was really shocked by this news. With their knowledge, they really didn't know how to go to the ghost realm. The ghost realm was a completely foreign existence to them. How do we go? I have a way. I can't guarantee how long I'll be gone. During this time, you have to take care of Yi Xuanji. Don't let his body suffer any damage. Otherwise, even if we find his soul, it'll be useless. Tang Zheng exhorted. Little handsome, this is too dangerous. I can't let you take this risk. Moreover, this is the Ya family's matter. It's not your matter. You don't have to take such a big risk and price. Feng Xinyang was worried about Tang Zheng's safety and quickly advised. Tang Zheng smiled bitterly. All of this happened because of him. Moreover, there were too many reasons why he had to go, but these reasons couldn't be told to outsiders. Don't worry. Although the ghost realm is full of danger, if I'm careful, it shouldn't be a big problem. Tang Jing comforted. But in fact, deep in his heart, he didn't have absolute confidence. He couldn't tell them the truth. Otherwise, they wouldn't let him go. The couple looked at each other. Yi Tianlei was incoherent with gratitude. Tang Zheng. Thank you. You've done too much for the Ya family. The Ya family owes you too much. If anyone in the Ya family dares to gossip about you in the future, Yi Tianlei will be the first to disagree. Tang Jing smiled faintly and said, wait for me to come back. But don't tell anyone about what happened just now and where I'm going. He took out a ghost token and activated it with his true qi. A ghost gate immediately appeared in front of the three of them. Traces of yin qi immediately spread out. The couple turned into statues again. I'm going. Tang Jing stepped through the ghost gate and disappeared. The ghost gate immediately disappeared without a trace, leaving the couple looking at each other speechlessly for a long time. Bang bang bang. There was a knock on the door. Yi Tianming's urging voice sounded. It's been so long. How's the situation? Hurry up and open the door, or we'll break in. Just now, Yi Tianming's heart was in a mess. He felt uneasy and his heart was extremely complicated. If Tang Jing cured Yi Tianlei, then Yi Tianlei would definitely take the credit. Yi Tianlei's position in Yi Xuanji's heart would definitely rise. This would directly affect the ownership of the family head in the future. Yi Tianming couldn't turn a blind eye to all this. Creak. The door opened. Yi Tianlei frowned and walked out. He said unhappily, why are you shouting? Yi Tianming said angrily, how's the old master? He hasn't woken up yet. Yi Tianming heard this and couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. But in an instant, he had an absurd thought. Please don't let Tang Jing cure the old master. Yi Tianming looked into the house. There was no sign of Tang Jing. He was shocked, where's Tang Jing? Yi Tianlei remembered Tang Jing's advice and said, you only need to know one thing. He's trying his best to save the old master. Yi Tianming's expression was strange. He scolded, ridiculous. He's gone. How is he going to save the old master? I think he knows that he can't do anything, so he ran away. Nonsense. Yi Tianlei retorted with a red face. If not, where is he? You can't tell me that he's gone missing and is saving the old master, right? Yi Tianming said jokingly. The others also looked at Yi Tianlei and his wife in disbelief. They were obviously moved by Yi Tianming's words. Why are you talking so much nonsense with them? When the time is right, we'll know. Facing Yi Tianming's aggressiveness, Feng Xinyang finally couldn't hold it in and said angrily. Yi Tianlei nodded and said, what you said makes sense. I announce that from now on, no one is allowed to enter this house. We must do our best to ensure the old master's safety. What do you mean? Do you think that one of us will harm the old master? Yi Tianming said angrily. This clearly showed that he didn't trust them. However, at this critical moment, Yi Tianlei couldn't care less about offending people. He stood at the door with a golden sword and a golden sword. One man could hold back 10,000 men. No matter what you think, for the old master's safety, no one is allowed to enter this door unless they step over my dead body. Yi Tianlei's imposing manner was completely different from his previous image. It was deeply imprinted in everyone's mind. Chapter 599. The chaos was dark, and the air was cold. Tang Zheng looked as far as the eye could see, but his line of sight did not project too far, making it hazy. Between heaven and earth, Yin energy lingered, and a cold wind blew, causing one's heart to tremble. The Yin energy was like insects, trying to drill into his body, but Tang Zheng was already experienced. He hurriedly circulated the ancient clear heaven scroll, and warm true qi flowed through his 8 extraordinary meridians, dispelling the cold Yin energy. Where is Fengdu City? Tang Zheng's eyes were dark. This time he entered the tiger's den, but he was like a headless fly, unable to find his way. Forget it, I'll choose a direction first. Tang Zheng did not intend to sit still and wait for death. He quickly ran into the darkness. The cold wind whistled past his ears, and if it wasn't for his 9 yang saint body and the ancient clear heaven scroll, he would have been paralyzed by the cold. After running for dozens of kilometers tirelessly, Tang Zheng gradually gained some insight. The ghost realm was vast, and the land was barren. There were no plants, and it was even more desolate than a desert. The ground was cold and hard like rock. If he was in the human realm, he would have already seen the faces of people after running for such a long distance. However, he did not see a single person in the ghost realm. After running for another 100 kilometers, Tang Zheng came to an emergency stop. He vigilantly looked at a pile of buildings not far away. This was a place like a village, but there were no trees. On the desolate land, there were stone houses in picturesque disorder. The stone houses were made of dark stone. They looked ugly, but they gave people a feeling of sturdiness. Tang Zheng did not act rashly, and instead hid in the distance to observe. Finally, a figure walked out of the stone house. This person's body was surrounded by Yin Qi. With just a glance, Tang Zheng could tell that the other party was not an ordinary ghost. At the very least, it did not look like the muddle-headed ghosts that he had seen before. The other party's mind was clear, and its purpose was clear. It went into another stone house, and after a while, it came out again. Tang Zheng was moved. Since he did not know the direction of Fengdu City, why not catch one and ask? The other party did not know that danger was about to befall them. They left the village and walked out. Tang Zheng followed behind them, and the two of them moved further and further away from the village. A moment later, Tang Zheng suddenly increased his speed, and with a so sound, he appeared behind the other party. Before the other party could react, he was restrained by Tang Zheng. The man looked at Tang Zheng in horror and asked, "Who are you?" Tang Zheng finally got a good look at this person's appearance. His facial features were no different from a human's, but the Yin energy on his body was denser. This person was different from the members of the ghost realm he had encountered before. He did not have any magical power fluctuations on his body. "Where is Fengdu City?" Tang Zheng asked coldly. "You want to go to Fengdu? Where are you from?" "Ghost citizens?" Tang Zheng was momentarily stunned. This was the first time he had heard of such a term. An astonished look appeared on the other party's face at the sight of Tang Zhang's stunned expression, and a hint of realization appeared on his face as he asked, "You're not a ghostly citizen? Then who are you? You're obviously not an emissary of hell." Emissary of hell? Tang Zhang frowned. An emissary of hell was the weakest member of the ghost realm he had ever encountered. However, this person was obviously afraid of an emissary of hell, which was really surprising. "Who are you? You're not an emissary of hell, nor are you a ghostly citizen. Could it be that you're a newly dead ghost?" Tang Zhang was confused. He was really confused by the other party's continuous questions. "First, tell me the general situation of the ghost realm. Otherwise, I'll make your soul scatter immediately." Tang Zhang threatened with a murderous aura. "Spare me, I'll tell you everything." The other party did not insist and immediately told Tang Zhang the truth. It turned out that the ghost realm was more complicated than Tang Zhang had imagined. The ghost realm was actually not much different from the human realm. They had a strict hierarchy. When people died, their souls would enter the ghost realm, and these souls would have various places to go. Those who were lucky would be reincarnated as humans, and most of them would settle down in the ghost realm and become residents of the ghost realm, known as ghost citizens. However, the hierarchy in the ghost realm was even stricter. As the lowest level of existence, the ghostly citizens did not have much status. On the other hand, the ghost realm was ruled by various bureaucrats, the representatives of which were the 10 Yama kings. This was a bit like the era when the human world was divided. Each Yama king occupied a territory, and the Yama king was the highest representative of power, ruling over thousands of ghost citizens. And Fengdu City was the center of power in the ghost realm. It was occupied by the most powerful king of hell. This king of hell was called King Yanluo. Fengdu City was located at the peak of Mount Yanfu. It was a very grand city. This ghostly citizen had only heard of it and had never seen it with his own eyes. This place was hundreds of thousands of kilometers away from Fengdu City. It was definitely not something that could be reached in a day. The more Tang Zhang heard, the tighter his frown became. If Yi Xuanji was brought to Fengdu City to ask about the reason, then all his plans would go down the drain. Therefore, he had to rush there as fast as possible. However, it seemed like there was not enough time. The ghostly citizen looked at Tang Zhang in horror. He could not understand who this outsider was and why he dared to trespass into the ghost realm. However, he knew that his life was in Tang Zhang's hands. Therefore, when he saw his frown, he quickly said, "Actually, it doesn't have to be a long journey to Fengdu City. There is a teleportation formation in the Chakravarti King City that can reach Fengdu City directly." Teleportation formation? Yes, as long as you activate the teleportation formation, you can reach Fengdu City directly. It will save you a lot of time. The ghostly citizen nodded vigorously. Tang Zhang's eyes lit up. He asked, "Then how do I get to the Chakravarti King City?" "This is the Chakravarti King's territory. As long as you walk 500 kilometers to the west, you will reach Chakravarti City. The Chakravarti King is one of the 10 kings of hell. He is the master of this area," the ghostly citizen said respectfully. Tang Zhang nodded and asked, "Then how do I use the teleportation formation?" The ghostly citizen said timidly, "As long as you have hell coins, you can use the teleportation formation to reach Fengdu City." Hell coins? What's that? Hell coins are the currency of the ghost realm. However, to use the teleportation formation, you will need a lot of them. Most ghostly citizens won't be able to accumulate that much in their lifetime. Is that so? Then do you have enough? Not enough? Far from enough. The ghostly citizen shook his head like a rattledrum. Tang Zhang stared at him skeptically. The ghostly citizen trembled and fell to his knees in front of Tang Zhang. He kowtowed repeatedly and begged, "Please let me go. I really don't have that many hell coins. I'm just a ghostly citizen." Looking at his crying appearance, which was not much different from a weak ordinary human, Tang Zhang's heart softened and said, "Okay, I will believe you for now. I will let you go now, but if you dare to tell others about me, I will definitely find you and make your soul scatter. Yes, I will keep this a secret. Thank you for sparing my life." The ghostly citizen turned around and fled as if he had just been pardoned. He looked back at Tang Zheng and thought, if I tell the Chakravarti king about the invaders, I will definitely be able to become a netherworld envoy. When that time comes, I will be able to strut around. However, Tang Zheng didn't hear his thoughts. He stood straight and stared at the west for a long time. Whoosh! Tang Zheng turned into a shadow and disappeared. Several hours later, Tang Zheng finally saw the outline of a city in the distance. The number of ghostly citizens on the road gradually increased. There were even netherworld envoys patrolling the streets. During this time, he passed by several villages and towns that were not much different from the human world. He couldn't help but click his tongue in wonder. In a daze, he felt as if he had returned to the human world. However, the human world was already a modern society, while the ghost realm was more like the ancient society of the human world. He first found a secluded place to recuperate and recover his stamina and true chi. This time, he had entered the tiger's den. He had to be fully prepared for any possible battle. In addition, he had already disguised himself. Yin Qi lingered around his body, making him no different from an ordinary ghostly citizen. Just now, he used this disguise to deceive a group of patrolling netherworld envoys. The three ancient characters of Chakravarti city hung above the city wall, emitting a faint glow. The city wall was dozens of feet tall and was completely black. He didn't know what material it was made of, but it gave off a feeling that it was impregnable. There were netherworld envoys standing guard at the city gate, inspecting the ghostly citizens who passed through the gate. Tang Zheng lined up to enter the city. There were ghostly citizens in front and behind him, so he didn't stand out too much. He entered the city without any mishap. When he looked up, he couldn't see the end of the city. This city was really too big. It was bigger than any city in human history. A black cloud floated above the palace. It was like a huge monster overlooking every corner of the city. He suppressed the shock in his heart and carefully walked towards the center of the city. From afar, Tang Zheng saw a majestic palace in the distance. It gave off an invisible pressure. This palace belonged to the Chakravarti king. It was the center of power in the city. Since that ghostly citizen said that the teleportation formation was so mysterious, it must not be in an ordinary place. It was highly likely that it was in the Chakravarti palace. Without a doubt, the Chakravarti palace was heavily guarded. However, Tang Zheng did not retreat. He blended in with the ghostly citizens and quickly approached the palace. The ghostly citizens were bustling with activity. After a long time, the palace was finally fully exposed in front of Tang Zheng. Looking up at it from such a close distance, Tang Zheng once again felt the magnificence of the palace. In front of it, all the ghostly citizens were insignificant. The palace was heavily guarded. The netherworld envoys were guarding all the entrances. Tang Zheng despaired at one glance. Where was he going to find the teleportation formation? Just as he was at his wit's end, a ray of light shot into the sky and into the black cloud above the palace. The black cloud changed and formed a whirlpool, sucking in the light. Tang Zheng's eyes widened. There seemed to be a blurry figure in the light that shot into the sky, disappearing in the black cloud in the blink of an eye. The light disappeared very quickly. Everything returned to normal. Tang Zheng stared blankly at this miraculous scene, not knowing what to do. Beside him, a ghostly citizen also stared blankly at this scene. After a while, he said enviously, "Another ghostly citizen has gathered enough hell coins to take the teleportation formation to Fengdu City. I'm so lucky. I'm afraid I won't have such an opportunity in my life." Yes, Fengdu City is the largest place in the ghost world. I want to go there too. Another ghostly citizen said with great yearning. Tang Zheng's heart skipped a beat. That ray of light was actually a teleportation formation. From the looks of it, it was at the right wing of the palace. He shifted his gaze and saw that there was indeed another door at the right wing of the palace. There were many netherworld envoys standing there, strictly inspecting the ghostly citizens who entered. Every ghostly citizen handed over a money bag to the netherworld envoys. It must be filled with hell coins. Chapter 600. The ghostly citizens carrying the money pouches passed through the entrance of the palace one after another before disappearing from sight. Tang Zheng began to panic as the number of ghostly citizens dwindled. No, I have to find some hell coins. Time waits for no one. His gaze landed on the money pouch of an excited ghostly citizen. What a sin. Today, I'm going to be the one who takes advantage of you. He quietly walked over to the ghostly citizen and stole the money pouch from him. Then, he quickly rushed to the entrance and handed it over to the emissary. The emissary stared at him for a moment before carefully counting the hell coins. Then, he waved his hand impatiently, indicating that he could enter. Tang Jing felt a sense of relief as he hurriedly passed through the entrance. Before him was a long stone path with towering stone walls on either side of it. The ghostly citizens appeared particularly small and insignificant under the towering walls. They moved forward timidly, but there was a hint of excitement in their eyes. Clearly, these ghostly citizens were still in awe of the Chakravarti king's palace. However, they couldn't help but feel excited as they were about to arrive at Fengdu Necropolis. Tang Zheng tried his best to remain as discreet as possible and maintained the same reaction as the other ghostly citizens. Under the guidance of the emissary, he walked to the end of the stone path. Wow! Gasps of surprise could be heard from the ghostly citizens. Everyone was flabbergasted as they saw a huge plaza in front of them. There were ghostly generals and emissaries standing around the plaza like javelins. An invisible aura surged into the sky, striking awe in everyone's hearts. The ground of the plaza was engraved with complex patterns that extended to every corner of the plaza. It was an extremely mysterious sight. There was a tall platform in the corner of the plaza that was emitting bursts of faint light. Tang Zheng's pupils contracted as he stared intently at the plaza. Formation. With his knowledge of formations, he could already tell that this was an extremely complex and mysterious formation. In fact, it was more complex than any formation he had ever seen before. This must be a teleportation formation. To think that it can teleport people thousands of kilometers away. How miraculous. Tang Zheng had never thought that formations could be used in such a way. It was as if a door had been opened in front of him, causing his eyes to light up slightly. Stand in the center of the formation, the netherworld operatives yelled as the netherworldly citizens filed into the formation in a single file. Tang Zheng could sense bursts of magic power fluctuations erupting from beneath his feet. The other netherworldly citizens didn't possess any magic power, so they weren't able to sense this, but they were all rather excited. Activate the teleportation array. Suddenly, an order was given. A ghost marshal walked up to the platform, took out a shiny black token, and inserted it into a groove on the platform. Shwa! A beam of light rose up from the ground of the plaza before flying past the ghostly citizens and into the sky. What a powerful spell formation! What shocking mana fluctuations! Tang Zheng's pupils constricted as he immediately sensed something strange. As soon as this pillar of light appeared, the entire space around them began to undergo a drastic change. The air surged violently, and all of the netherworldly citizens began to blur involuntarily. Tang Zheng felt as if he was about to float up. It was as if his body was out of control and was about to soar into the sky. He didn't circulate his energy to resist this effect. Instead, he allowed this effect to spread, and he was sure that all of the other netherworldly citizens were experiencing the same thing. Stop! Suddenly, a group of ghost messengers rushed from the stone path to the edge of the plaza and shouted to stop. Stop the teleportation array. None of the netherworldly citizens are allowed to leave the palace. Capture all of them. The ghost generals and ghost messengers around the plaza acted as if they were facing a great enemy. They all raised the spears in their hands and stared menacingly at the helpless netherworldly citizens. Tang Jing trembled violently as he realized that things weren't looking good. However, it was already too late. The ghost marshal abruptly pulled out the token that was inserted into the platform. Whoosh! The light that filled the sky crumbled and shattered into nothingness. The teleportation array was stopped. The ghost generals around them began to shrink back step by step. The spears in their hands were aimed at the netherworldly citizens in the center of the plaza. They clearly didn't have any good intentions. Tang Jing did not act rashly, because he had not figured out what was going on. Although he had an ominous premonition, the other party had a lot of people, and this was the other party's territory, so it was better to wait and see. The last group of ghost messengers lowered their heads and whispered a few words to the ghost marshal. The ghost marshal's expression darkened and became even more ferocious. Its eyes were cold as it stared menacingly at the netherworldly citizens. Bang! The ghost marshal took a few large steps forward. The sound of its footsteps was so loud that it hurt everyone's eardrums. One of you is an intruder, the ghost marshal said with killing intent. Intruder? The netherworldly citizens were confused and looked at each other. Tang Jing didn't show any abnormalities. Just like the other netherworldly citizens, he hid it very well. If you're smart, stand out right now. Otherwise, I guarantee that after I catch you, I will send you to the 18th level of hell and let you suffer the cruelest punishment until you die. Hearing this, many of the netherworldly citizens' expressions changed. They muttered, "The 18th level of hell is the most terrifying place in the ghost realm. No one would want to go there. You don't want to stand out? Someone has already informed us that you are an intruder. We will make you suffer the harshest punishment. Hee, in a moment, I will send all of you to the 18th level of hell. At that time, you will be able to fly south even if you grow wings," the ghost marshal sneered. "Spare us, Your Excellency, spare us." The netherworldly citizens immediately begged for mercy. Fear was written all over their faces. Some of the ghost marshals even knelt on the ground and kowtowed like they were pounding garlic. Tang Jing was shocked. These people had paid hell coins to use the teleportation formation, but they were sent to the 18th level of hell without any explanation. The management of the ghost realm was too chaotic and dark. Who is the intruder? Hurry up and stand out. Don't implicate us. One of the netherworldly citizens said with tears and snot. The netherworldly citizens all looked at each other, suspecting that the other was the culprit. As the true culprit, Tang Jing was in a mess. He had let that netherworldly citizen go, but he didn't expect that he would go back on his word and expose him, causing him to fall short of success. What he didn't know was that ordinary netherworldly citizens could benefit from this kind of whistleblowing. The whistleblower could easily become a netherworld servant. This was power. In a society where power was concentrated in the ghost realm, the ordinary netherworldly citizens' desire and passion for power was unimaginable to Tang Jing. After this battle, Tang Jing clearly understood the truth of the ghost realm. Although the ghost realm was another world, it was actually very different from the human realm. This was especially true for the netherworldly citizens, who were completely different from humans. Their values were too different. Since he had come to the enemy's territory, he couldn't use the human realm's moral values and conduct as a benchmark. A woman's soft-heartedness would lead to big trouble sooner or later. Seeing that there was no movement after a long time, the ghost marshal became impatient. He waved his hand and said, "Take them all to the 18th level of hell and let them have a taste of purgatory." Tang Jing didn't want to experience this. Moreover, after this delay, it would be more difficult for him to use the teleportation formation to reach Fengdu City in the future. Thus, he swept his eyes and immediately locked onto the token in the ghost marshal's hand. He imitated the other netherworldly citizens and pretended to beg for mercy as he moved toward the ghost marshal. But before he could get close to the ghost marshal, the latter had already put away the token. Without the token, the teleportation formation wouldn't be able to be activated and everything would be meaningless. Therefore, he had to activate the teleportation formation. Seeing that the token was about to disappear, Tang Jing's eyes were sharp and his hands were fast. He directly rushed out of the crowd of netherworldly citizens and headed straight for the ghost marshal. Catch him! Swish swish swish. The spear in the ghost marshal's hand pierced towards Tang Zhang's chest. If he was hit, then Tang Zhang would be pierced into a hedgehog. However, Tang Zhang was much faster than the ghost marshal. He flew past the muzzle of the spear and arrived in front of the ghost marshal. He reached out with his long hand and grabbed the token. The ghost marshal saw through Tang Zhang's motive and hurriedly kept the token. He raised the spear in his hand and stabbed it towards Tang Zhang. Swish! War Soul appeared out of thin air and accurately met the attack. Clang! Sparks flew as War Soul and the spear clashed fiercely. Tang Zhang had fought with the ghost marshal before, so he had some experience. As for the ghost marshal, he had obviously underestimated Tang Zhang's strength. Therefore, the spear shook and flew out of his hand. Tang Zhang did not hesitate to seize this opportunity. His long hand flew out and grabbed the ghost marshal's neck, breaking it without hesitation. He then reached into his pocket and took out the token. The token was completely black and filled with an ancient aura. This token was the key to activate the teleportation formation. With the key in hand, Tang Zhang did not hesitate to approach the platform and insert the token to activate the teleportation formation. However, things did not go as he wished. The other ghost generals blocked his path and stabbed their spears towards him again. Fast, ruthless, accurate. This time, Tang Zhang had no way of dodging and could only use his sword to counterattack. The flying immortals beyond heaven's sword technique shone brilliantly as battle spirit's sword light danced in the air. Ding ding dang dang dang, a long string of spears was cut in two. However, this did not frighten the ghost generals. Instead, it aroused their ferocious nature. No matter who you are, you dare to trespass into the ghost realm and create havoc in Chakravarti city. Your end is here. Tang Zhang snorted and waved his war soul. Sword light flashed and ghost generals and ghost messengers fell to the ground one after another. The other ghost citizens were scared silly. They were originally ambitious to go to Fengdu city, but they encountered such a situation. Tang Zhang would not apologize. Ever since that ghost citizen told on him, he did not have any good feelings or pity for ghost citizens. There were not many ghost generals and ghost messengers in the square. Tang Zhang used his own strength and the heaven-grade magic treasure War Soul. It was as if he had entered an unstoppable state. Wherever he passed, ghost generals and messengers would fall. Dong dong dong. A series of uniform footsteps gradually approached. In an instant, many ghost marshals, ghost generals and ghost messengers appeared around the square. They looked at this scene with their mouths agape. Looking at their fallen comrades, the shock in their hearts could not be calmed down for a long time. The ghost realm had been peaceful for many years. There were very few people who had the guts to trespass into the ghost realm and create havoc. This was simply like poking a hornet's nest. Therefore, every one of them was extremely angry. With a loud roar, formation, their figures changed and quickly closed in on Tang Zhang. They surrounded him so tightly that not even a drop of water could pass through, cutting off his connection with the platform. Chapter 601. The ghost messengers and ghost generals changed their formation, layer upon layer, advancing and retreating at the same time. An intense yin qi soared into the sky as all of the ghost messengers and ghost generals released their spears and shot towards the sky. They were so densely packed that it was as if they were covering the sky above Tang Zhang's head. Tang Zhang held his sword with both hands, and with a move of heaven and earth, rumbling, sword light burst out. In an instant, half of the sky was filled with spear shadows. Boom boom boom. In the air, sword light and spear shadows intersected, and explosions sounded out one after another. Tang Zhang's arm trembled uncontrollably, and many ghost messengers and ghost generals fell to the ground dead, turning into wisps of yin qi. However, reinforcements continued to arrive from all directions, and the number of spear shadows in the sky suddenly increased. The air fluctuated violently, and the spear's shadows became illusory. With a flash of light, thousands of spear shadows merged into one, turning into a long spear, standing in the air. So, the long spear turned into an aurora, breaking through the air, and fiercely piercing towards Tang Zheng. Return to origin. Tang Zheng shouted, the true qi in his body surged, and poured into the war spirit sword. The war spirit sword's light immediately converged, and no longer had the berserk aura from before. Instead, it turned into an ordinary long sword, and without any fancy moves, it swung out. The sword and spear attacked together, and everything returned to calm. The spear shadows dissipated, and the square was once again slanted, and a large number of people fell down. Tang Zheng staggered back, his face pale, and blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. To resist the power of so many enemies by himself, this was already his limit. His true qi was trembling, as if it wanted to break out of his body, and it was really uncomfortable. He gritted his teeth and endured it. His feet slipped, and he rushed towards the high platform. The enemies were swaying left and right, and were seriously injured. They simply could not stop him in time, and could only watch as Tang Zheng inserted the token into the high platform. Shwa! The light in the square rose again, and shot straight into the sky. Tang Zheng stood in the middle of the light, his figure slowly becoming blurry. In the sky, the black clouds changed, forming a vortex, and all the light was sucked into it. Tang Zheng felt himself becoming lighter. He flew up bit by bit and was sucked into the black clouds, disappearing without a trace. In front of him was an endless darkness. He couldn't see anything. Tang Zheng could only feel his own breathing. He didn't know where he was at all. Bang! Tang Zheng's feet finally landed on the ground. His body paused for a moment as his feet touched the ground. The darkness was dispelled and the light shone. Figures overlapped and Tang Zheng's pupils constricted as he vigilantly stared ahead. This was another huge plaza. Ghost generals and ghost generals stood around the plaza like javelins, glaring at each other like tigers eyeing their prey. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and leave. The messenger nudged Tang Zheng and urged. He must have been scared silly by the appearance of Fengdu City. Every time we see this kind of country bumpkin, another ghost servant sneered. Fengdu City is the center of the ghost world. Of course, it's not comparable to other remote villages. When they go back, they will definitely be able to brag to the other ghost citizens for a while. Tang Zheng's tense muscles finally relaxed. If he hadn't heard the words Fengdu City, he would have resisted violently. I've finally arrived at Fengdu City. So damn fast. Tang Zheng could only use this sentence to express the shock in his heart. I must find out what's going on with this teleportation array in the future. With this array, the distance to other places won't be a problem at all. Tang Zheng maintained the appearance of an ordinary ghost citizen. He timidly left the plaza and walked into a stone path. Behind him was a swaggering ghost servant. Seeing him looking around, he kicked his leg and scolded, "What are you looking at? Be careful or I'll gouge your eyeballs out. Is Yama Palace a place where you can look as you wish?" Yama Palace. Tang Zheng's heart violently thumped a few times. He remembered that Fengdu City was the territory of King Yama. This Yama Palace was probably King Yama's palace. This was the center of power in Fengdu City, a true dragon's pool and tiger's den. Since the other party brought Yi Xuanji's soul to Fengdu City, it's most likely to be brought to Yama Palace. Yama Palace is heavily guarded. If I go out, it won't be easy to come in again. Why don't I take advantage of this opportunity to search around? Tang Zheng's eyes lit up. He thought that this method was reliable. Seeing that Tang Zheng didn't restrain himself and instead looked around even more unscrupulously, the ghost servant was furious. He scolded, "Country bumpkin, you don't know the rules from a small place. Today, I will teach you the rules of Fengdu City." After that, the whip in his hand fiercely lashed at Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng suddenly turned around and raised his hand to grab the whip. With a forceful pull, the ghost servant was dragged in front of him. Their eyes met and they were very close. The ghost servant was shocked. He looked at this lowly ghost citizen in horror. Soon after, he came back to his senses and flew into a rage. "You are courting death." The ghost servant attacked again, but Tang Jing grabbed his fist and twisted it. The ghost servant's arm turned into a fried dough twist. The pain made him grimace. "You. Who are you?" The ghost servant was not stupid. The difference between ghost citizens and ghost servants was like a chasm. How could he resist him? This was definitely not a ghost citizen. Tang Jing grabbed the ghost servant's neck and stopped him from shouting. He stared at him fiercely and said, "If you dare to shout, I will make your soul scatter. Obediently answer my question." The ghost servant rolled his eyes, but other than pain, his eyes were full of anger. "Humph, if you don't want to cooperate, then there is no need for you to keep your other arm." In an instant, both of the ghost servant's arms were twisted into a fried dough twist. The ghost servant was in so much pain that he looked like a ferocious ghost. "Now you know how to cooperate?" The ghost servant hurriedly nodded. "Do you know where the ghost in Reincarnation City went?" The ghost servant was at a loss. Seeing the ferocious look in Tang Zhang's eyes, he hurriedly moved his throat and wanted to speak. "Don't shout, or I will kill you immediately." The ghost servant nodded. Tang Zhang released his grip. The ghost servant took a deep breath and said hurriedly, "Although I do not know about ghosts, I saw the Chakravarti king bring his elites to Fengdu city. Then, they were taken away by King Yenlua's bodyguards. The Chakravarti king was here too. No wonder the Chakravarti city was weak, which gave Tang Jing the opportunity to take advantage of it." Tang Jing did not think that he could go against the 10 kings of hell alone. The Chakravarti king must be a very powerful existence. But now that the Chakravarti king was here, he would have to face 2 kings of hell. Tang Zheng was even more inferior. But even if he knew that there were tigers in the mountains, he still had to go there. "Where will the Chakravarti king be taken to?" Tang Zheng asked again. "Where is the meeting hall?" "West." "Can you let me go now? I will not make the same mistake twice. I will not trust the people of the ghost world again." Tang Zheng said coldly. Crack. With a twist of his neck, the ghost servant died and turned into energy, disappearing without a trace. Tang Zheng rushed towards the direction of the assembly hall, disappearing into the orderly and majestic group of palaces. Along the way, he avoided a few pairs of patrolling ghost servants and arrived at the center of Yama Hall. There were obviously more guards. Not only were there patrolling teams in the open, Tang Zheng also found a few spies in the dark. Therefore, he had no choice but to slow down and be careful to avoid being discovered. Not far away, a building with a different style stood in front of him. It was very eye-catching, and Tang Zheng's attention was immediately attracted. Moreover, the security outside this building was much tighter than other places. There were 2 ghost marshals guarding the door. Could this be the meeting hall? Tang Zheng approached step by step, but did not sneak in from the main entrance. Instead, he circled to a blind spot on the side of the building, and with a leap, he climbed onto the eaves and crouched on the roof, listening attentively. "Chakravarti king, is what you said true? Is there really a sudden increase in lifespan in your jurisdiction?" A dignified voice asked. A high-pitched voice replied, "Of course, this is after a careful examination. The evidence is this ghost in front of us. He was originally at the end of his lifespan, but suddenly, he inexplicably gained 10 more years of lifespan. And the investigator I sent to investigate disappeared for no reason. This time, I've deliberately captured a part of this person's soul and brought it back to the ghost realm. I'm determined to get to the bottom of this." Tang Zheng's heart skipped a beat. It sounded like a conversation between Yama King and Chakravarti King, and they had just discussed it. However, he did not know if Yi Xuanji had spoken yet. "Let him speak. Who is the mastermind behind this?" Yama King pondered for a moment and said, "If we find out who it is, we must kill this person. This person is the natural enemy of the ghost realm, we must not let him live." Of course. Yi Xuanji, let me ask you, who gave you 10 years of lifespan? Chakravarti king asked fiercely. Who are you, and why did you capture me here? What is the ghost realm? Yi Xuanji asked angrily. How dare you shout in the ghost realm? Do you believe that I will destroy your soul and make you unable to reincarnate? Chakravarti king was furious. Yi Xuanji was not an ordinary person. He did not die a natural death, but his soul was forcefully captured. His soul was still very conscious. Although his throat had been sealed the entire time and he was unable to speak, he was truly terrified by such a technique. Even so, he was not completely scared out of his wits. Hearing Chakravarti king's threat, he glared at them and said, I don't care what ghost realm you are in. If you don't let me go, I will kill you. The head of the Ye family was indeed domineering. He dared to talk back to two Yama kings. Chakravarti king said coldly, since you can't accept reality, I will wake you up. Suddenly, an ear-piercing scream rang out. What are you doing to me? It hurts, stop. This was not an ordinary physical pain. It was a pain and trembling that came from the depths of his soul. His soul could not resist at all. This was why no matter how powerful a person was, they would still have to submit to the king of hell after they died. They could not even muster the slightest thought of resisting. This was because souls could not fight against the king of hell. The king of hell was the natural enemy of souls. They had an unmatched advantage and strength. I said, I will tell you anything. Chapter 602. Hearing Yi Xuanji's words, Tang Zheng knew that things were not going well. The head of the Ye family did not seem to be as tough as he thought. There was no way to hide anymore. Boom! With a fierce stomp of his feet, a large hole appeared in the roof, and the tiles fell down like raindrops. Tang Zheng flew down, and while he was still in the air, the war soul sword flashed, and it had already slashed towards the people in the meeting room with an indomitable will. Who is it? Shouts burst out. One by one, figures rose from the ground. The magic weapon in their hands shone brightly as they welcomed the war soul sword. Tang Zheng took the initiative. The heaven-flying immortal sword technique was continuously used. Its power was peerless, and it collided with the magic weapon of the others. Then, he took the opportunity and rushed towards Yi Xuanji without hesitation. Yi Xuanji still had a look of fear and pain between his brows, but in the next moment, he looked at this uninvited guest with his mouth agape. Especially that gorgeous and domineering sword technique, it caused his mind to be greatly shaken. There was a sense of familiarity that he could not figure out for a while. He did not recognize Tang Zheng. Because, ever since he came to the ghost realm, Tang Zheng had already used an illusion to change his appearance. Seeing that this uninvited guest was actually running towards him, Yi Xuanji's eyes widened even more. His face revealed a terrified expression. He did not think that he could escape from the opponent's sword. He wanted to escape very much, but his body was already imprisoned. He could not move. He could only watch the opponent approach like a puppet. He was so frightened that he turned pale. He kept screaming, without the slightest aura of the head of the family. Suddenly, he was stunned. The long sword did not fall on his body. Instead, this uninvited guest grabbed his shoulder and pulled him back, rushing towards the door. This person is here to save me? Yi Xuanji's mind was confused. There was someone in this damned place who cared about him and even risked his life to save him? Who is this person? That's right, why did the sword technique just now have a sense of familiarity, as if he had seen it somewhere before? He did not have enough time to think about this question. Because an angry roar exploded his eardrums, like rolling thunder. Stop him. King Yanluo flew into a rage. No matter who the other party was, they dared to barge into his meeting room and snatch people from his hands under the watchful eyes of everyone. This was completely challenging his dignity and bottom line. If he allowed the other party to succeed, then his prestige in the world of spirits and souls would be greatly reduced in the future, and he might even become a private laughingstock. The King of Hell was recognized as the head of the 10 kings of hell in the ghost realm. The other kings of hell had long coveted this position. If he couldn't stop the other party this time, then even his position would be in danger. Under the command of King Yen Luo, the sound of breaking through the air rang out. One after another, ghostly figures chased after Tang Zheng. All sorts of magical treasures illuminated the meeting hall, making it dazzling. A strong wind blew behind him. Tang Zheng's face darkened. He pointed behind him, and the dragon trapping rope appeared out of nowhere. It danced in the air like a spirit snake. Boom! Boom! The dragon trapping lasso blocked most of the attacks, and a few of the enemies were even whipped by the lasso, exploding and dying. However, there were too many attackers, and there were still a few that slipped through the net and hit Tang Zheng's back. Puff! Blood spurted out, and pain flashed across Tang Zheng's face. However, he gritted his teeth and endured it. Instead, he took advantage of the momentum and escaped to the door with Yi Xuanji. As a guest, the Chakravarti king couldn't just stand by and watch. Because, he was the one who brought Yi Xuanji here, and he couldn't stay out of it. His eyes were like torches, and they were as round as copper bells. He shouted angrily, trying to escape. Leave your life here. Whoosh! He slapped his palm in the air, and a square seal shot out from his palm. Like a mountain, it fell down on Tang Zheng and Yi Xuanji from above. The word king was written on the square seal, and it emitted a mysterious and powerful force. Tang Zheng's breathing suddenly stopped, as if he was about to suffocate. He took a deep breath to regain his strength. He didn't even need to raise his head to know that there was a powerful magical treasure coming at him. Hence, he roared and had no choice but to stop. Yi Xuanji staggered and almost fell down. Tang Zheng turned around abruptly, and with a flip of his hand, he was already holding the heaven-shaking bow and sun-shooting arrow. A powerful aura was immediately emitted from the bow and arrow. He pulled the bow and arrow, and there was nothing fancy about it. With a piercing sound, the sun-shooting arrow pierced through the air, and directly hit the square seal above his head. Boom! With a loud sound, the square seal fell from midair. The sun-shooting arrow flashed, and lost its power. It was nailed to the beam, and only the tail of the arrow was left, trembling non-stop. Seeing this, the people of the ghost realm were shocked, and looked at the heaven-shaking bow and sun-shooting arrow in disbelief. One must know that the power of the Chakravarti king's attack was not to be underestimated, especially that square seal, which was one of the most important magical treasures of the ghost realm's kings. Yama's seal. That was the name of the square seal, the token of the 10 kings of hell. Not only was it a symbol of power, it was also a powerful magical treasure. However, due to the strength of each king of hell and the size of his territory, the level of the Yama's seal was different. The Yama's seal would change according to the strength of each king of hell. This was because the Yama's seal operated in the same way as the ghost realm. The stronger the ghost realm was, the stronger the Yama's seal would be. Over the years, the ghost realm had developed, and the power of each king of hell's seal had undergone a qualitative leap. Of course, as the current king of hell was the most powerful king of hell, his Yama's seal was the most powerful. However, the Chakravarti king's Yama's seal was not to be underestimated. He used such a powerful magical treasure in his first attack, and it showed that he did not underestimate his opponent. Instead, he was determined to stop Tang Zheng, and even kill Tang Zheng. However, the results shocked everyone. The Yama's seal was on par with the arrow. Moreover, the Chakravarti king could clearly feel the damage to the Yama's seal when the arrow collided with the seal. If he were to clash with the arrow a few more times, his Yama's seal would definitely be damaged, and that would be a huge problem for him. Although the others did not feel it as clearly as the Chakravarti king, they were all dumbfounded and speechless. Tang Zheng did not care about losing the shooting sun arrows as he shouted, "Go," and rushed out of the meeting hall with Yi Xuanji. Yi Xuanji stared at the bow in Tang Zheng's hand, his expression fluctuating as he suddenly came to a realization. Stuttering, he said in disbelief, "It's you. It's actually you." Seeing the shooting sun arrows and the sky-shattering bow, Yi Xuanji was sure of Tang Zhang's identity, but he still could not believe that it was him who came to save him. In the past, he had tried many times to cut ties with Tang Zhang, but he did not expect that he would be the one to stand up for him in this moment of crisis. But in an instant, he realized another problem. He already understood that he was just a strand of soul. His usual superb martial arts had no substantial effect and could not be used at all. Right now, he did not even have the strength to truss a chicken and was at the mercy of others. He did not like this deep sense of danger. However, looking at Tang Zhang, he could not understand why Tang Zhang was still so powerful. Furthermore, he was several times more powerful than when they first met. This was simply illogical. Before Yi Xuanji could lament for too long, Tang Zhang's pupils constricted as he knew that his identity had been exposed. He stared at him and said in an unfriendly tone, "If you want to live, don't talk nonsense." Yi Xuanji's neck shrunk as he understood that these people were here for the life-continuing pill. The life-continuing pill came from Tang Zhang's hands, which meant that it was inextricably linked to him. In an instant, Yi Xuanji finally understood the cause and effect. Hearing Tang Zhang's unfriendly warning, although he was a little angry, he tactfully shut his mouth. Only his eyes were left as he stared at this mysterious scene. "You guys are indeed together. Could it be that you are the one behind this? To think that you have the ability to trespass into the ghost realm. This is a good opportunity to take you down and find out what happened." King Yanluo spoke again as his expression became unprecedentedly serious. Obviously, the confrontation between the shooting sun arrows and King Yanluo's seal had shaken King Yanluo. He did not dare to slight Tang Zhang and understood that this would not be a small battle. However, this was his home ground after all, and he had absolute confidence in taking down his opponent. Tang Zhang did not care about the other party's question. He knew that there was a big gap between his strength and King Yanluo's. If he continued to fight, only death would await him. He immediately warned Yi Xuanji in a low voice, "You must stay by my side, this will be a fierce battle. If you are too far away from me, then I won't be able to protect you, and you will never be able to return to the human realm to see your family again." Yi Xuanji nodded, "Don't worry, I will try my best not to cause trouble for you." After all, he was the head of the family and a smart person. He knew what was more important and what was more important. The Chakravarti king's face flushed red. His attack did not succeed, and he wanted to make up for it and regain his face. However, King Yanluo did not give him the chance. Since the Chakravarti king had failed, if King Yanluo defeated Tang Zhang, he would be able to suppress the Chakravarti king. As the kings of hell who had always been fighting in the open and in the dark, King Yanluo was very willing to harm others to benefit himself. His figure flashed and instantly closed the distance between him and Tang Zhang. His palm flashed as the terrifying power of King Yanluo's seal was immediately released. In the ghost realm, King Yanluo's seal is everything. Unlike the Chakravarti king, King Yanluo did not fight head-on. Instead, he used another function of King Yanluo's seal, soul absorption. King Yanluo's seal could absorb any soul in the ghost realm as long as the user was strong enough. Even the 10 kings of hell were no exception. When these souls were absorbed by King Yanluo's seal, they would be directly transported to the 18th level of hell and suffer incomparable pain. King Yanluo was very confident. He wanted to let his opponent have a taste of the 18th level of hell and let him understand the power of the ghost realm. Tang Zhang did not know this. Seeing that his opponent had activated King Yanluo's seal again, he did not hesitate to draw his bow and arrow, preparing to use the same trick again. Suddenly, a wave of dizziness hit him. He felt that his soul was about to leave his body. The King Yanluo's seal was like a black hole, attracting his soul. Chapter 603. His soul was about to leave his body. This feeling was too mysterious. Tang Zheng couldn't help but cry out. Yama Wang sneered and said disdainfully, struggling? Is there any use? Tang Zheng didn't comment and hurriedly circulated his true qi. However, he found that everything was in vain. His true qi leaked out without any resistance. Yi Xuanji's situation was even worse. He was originally a wisp of soul, so he directly floated toward Yama's seal. Stop! Tang Zheng gritted his teeth and roared, grabbing Yi Xuanji. But in an instant, he felt that his soul was attracted by an even greater force. It was really about to float away. Yama Wang was full of confidence. He continued to circulate his energy. The suction force of Yama's seal suddenly increased, and Tang Zheng's soul directly left his body. No, I have to think of a way. Suddenly, Tang Zheng had an idea. Now, the only thing he could rely on was the four symbols venerables. Come out. Boom. The four symbols venerables stomped on the ground fiercely. Its huge body directly pierced through the roof of the meeting hall. Ah! Cries of alarm sounded. Everyone was frightened by this huge thing. What is this thing? The four symbols venerables grabbed Tang Zheng's soul and merged it with his body. Tang Zheng finally regained his mobility. The tip of his foot touched the four symbols venerable's knee and rushed into the secret room in his chest. This was the first time Yi Xuanji entered the four symbols venerable's body. He couldn't help but be speechless. He knew that the Chu clan's patriarch was unlucky in the hands of this big guy, so he was especially afraid. But when he was in the body, he couldn't help but look around like a curious baby. This is equivalent to the big guy's control room. But there's no equipment. How can it be controlled? Yi Xuanji was disappointed. He was confused, and his frown deepened. What is this thing? Yama Wang and Chakravarti Wang also couldn't help but widen their eyes. Especially Yama Wang, the shock in his heart was even more intense. Because the Yama's seal in his hand had lost its effect. It could no longer absorb the other party's soul. The Yama's seal's powerful advantage had actually lost its effect. This was something that Yama Wang had never encountered before. What's going on? The Yama King's eyes darkened as he stared at the four symbols venerables. He snorted coldly and said, "No matter what you are, you can forget about escaping from my grasp in the ghost realm." With a flash of light, the Yama's seal suddenly enlarged and turned into a towering mountain. It directly broke through the roof and pressed down on the head of the four symbols venerable, determined to suppress it. Tang Zheng's HP was fully restored. With a thought, the four symbols venerable punched toward the sky. Boom! Like a sudden clap of thunder, the ground was filled with debris. The feet of the four symbols venerable sank into the ground, and the flying debris hit a few people from the ghost realm, killing them one after another. The Yama seal descended bit by bit, as if it was going to crush the four divine beasts. Tang Zheng turned pale with fright. He had originally thought that the four symbols venerables would be enough to deal with the other party, but it seemed that he had still underestimated King Yanlua's strength. The Yama's seal truly had the power of 1,000 caddies. It was like Mount Tai was pressing down on them. Not only were the bodies of the four divine beasts creaking as if they were about to fall apart, even Tang Zheng felt as if his own bones were about to shatter. Ah! The heart-wrenching pain caused Tang Zheng to involuntarily scream. His cheeks flushed red, and a terrifying cold light erupted from his eyes. He roared, "Another one!" Boom boom! With two loud sounds, two giant feet appeared out of thin air. They raised their hands and pushed, supporting the Yama's seal together with the four symbols venerable from before. Go! The two four symbols venerable worked together, gushing out with force. Swoosh! The Yama's seal was sent flying. Taking advantage of this opportunity, the four symbols venerable took a step forward and rushed out with the speed of a thunderclap. They shuttled through the scattered halls and rushed straight out of the city. Boom 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 boom. The 4 feet landed on the ground. The various halls of King Yanlua's hall were destroyed, turning into ruins under the feet of the four symbols venerable. The people from the ghost realm in the halls screamed as they fled. Many of them were directly crushed under the feet of the four symbols venerable. When the Yama king saw this, he gritted his teeth in hatred. This was his headquarters, his blood, sweat, and tears. He could only watch helplessly as the halls collapsed one after another. His heart was dripping blood. I'm going to tear you into pieces and beat you to the 18th level of hell. King Yenluo roared hysterically. With a tap of his foot, a black cloud emerged from under his feet. A sinister wind blew, and he actually flew into the sky. Let me help you. The Chakravarti king roared. Wind blew under his feet as he stepped on a black cloud and soared into the sky, chasing after Tang Zheng. The other people from the ghost realm chased after him as fast as lightning. All kinds of magic treasures were thrown at the four symbols venerable. However, the four symbols venerable was invulnerable. These ordinary magic treasures could do nothing to it. They could only tickle it. King Yenluo and the Chakravarti king also realized the extraordinariness of the four symbols venerable. In their impression, they had never heard of such a colossus. They couldn't help but feel suspicious. Weren't cultivators on the decline in the mortal realm, and there weren't many left? How could there be such a heaven-defying existence? In fact, they could already tell that Tang Zheng's actual cultivation wasn't very high. It would be a piece of cake for them to deal with him. However, the magic treasures in his hands were extraordinary, especially the bow and arrows and the two colossal objects. The bow and arrows were in no way inferior to the Yama's seal. One had to know that the Yama's seal was one of the top treasures in the ghost realm. From this, one could see how extraordinary the bow and arrows were. The two kings of hell started to have some ideas. If they could kill others and steal their treasures, with the bow and arrows, or even these two behemoths, their strength in the ghost realm would definitely increase by leaps and bounds, leaving the other kings of hell far behind. King Yenluo glanced at the Chakravarti king. He knew that the latter had the same idea as him. His heart tightened as he thought to himself, this is Fengdu City, my territory. How can I allow you to get your hands on these two magic treasures? Tang Zheng didn't know what the other party was thinking. He just kept on rushing out. In the blink of an eye, he had rushed out of the Yama Hall and into the streets of Fengdu City. In an instant, everyone in the ghost realm raised their heads and looked over. Without a doubt, the four supremes had become the focus of attention. Everyone was muttering. Who was it that dared to be so unscrupulous in Fengdu City? The four supremes were very fast, but King Yenluo and the Chakravarti king were not slow either. Riding on clouds, they arrived behind the four supremes one after the other. As the two of them were suspended in mid-air, the four supremes lost part of their advantage. Without hesitation, the two of them raised the Yama's seal again. Rumble. The black clouds pressed down. This time, the momentum was even more shocking. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled in the sky. The Yama's seal rushed into the sky and merged with the black clouds, becoming one with them. It also became a huge monster. The black clouds and lightning lingered in the sky, each attacking the two four symbols venerables. Rumble. The four supremes had no choice but to stop in their tracks. They fell to the ground with two thuds. The two Yama's seals pressed down on their bodies. The immense force made it impossible for them to move. The two kings of hell looked pleased. They looked at each other and rushed over as fast as lightning. Neither of them wanted to leave the spoils for the other. Tang Zheng, what do we do now? Yi Xuanji was dizzy but anxious. He thought that victory was in sight, but in the end, he couldn't move. He couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Tang Zheng was too weak after all. However, he immediately blushed. He couldn't even resist, but he said that Tang Zheng was weak. He was a little shameless. Tang Zheng felt the immense force on his body. Veins popped out on his forehead and cold sweat broke out. This was the most dangerous situation he had ever faced. He had underestimated his opponent too much. However, he didn't give up. He shouted unyieldingly, you think you can capture me like this? Don't even think about it. Rumble. 2 more 4 Supremes rushed out from the Sumeru pouch. They grabbed the 2 Yama's seals and used all their strength. Rise! Tang Jing roared. The Yama's seals finally lifted a little. The 2 Supremes were finally free. Pfft! Tang Jing spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was as white as paper. Although it was just summoning 2 more Supremes, the test for Tang Jing was unimaginable. Although the Supremes were powerful, controlling them consumed too much true chi and mental strength. In the past, he could only control 1 Supremes. 2 was already his limit. However, in order to survive this time, he had to take the risk. The result of the risk was that his true chi was shaken and his internal organs were displaced. If it wasn't for his solid foundation, he would have died. However, this scene stunned everyone in the world of spirits and souls. Even King Yenluo and King Chakravarti were suspended in mid-air in a daze. This. Why did 2 more big guys suddenly appear? King Chakravarti smacked his lips and couldn't help but exclaim. King Yenluo's face was pale. He thought that the 2 Yama's seals would be enough to suppress the other party. However, he didn't expect the other party to have a trick up his sleeve. While King Yenluo was in a daze, Tang Jing quickly put the 3 Supremes back into his Sumeru pouch, ignoring his shaken true chi and internal injuries. His power and mental strength were barely enough to control 1 4 symbols venerable, so how could he possibly control 4 4 symbols venerables? He dragged his exhausted body and drove the 4 symbols venerables toward the towering city walls of Necropolis. The others didn't know that he was already at the end of his rope. They watched him escape, but no one dared to act rashly. Finally, King Yenluo came back to his senses and roared, "Stop right there." Whoosh! Riding on the clouds, he gave chase. However, the Supremes were already at the edge of the walls. With a leap, they soared into the sky and crossed the towering walls. Huh! There's no land below. His feet were in the air. Tang Jing was shocked. Outside the walls was a bottomless abyss. Fengdu City was built on top of a barren mountain. The cliffs were steep and the mountain was thousands of feet high. Mount Yanfu was a famous mountain in the ghost realm. It wasn't famous for its height, nor was it famous for Fengdu City on top of the mountain. The most famous thing was the river at the foot of the mountain. River Styx. People called it the River of Death. Tang Jing watched as the 4 divine beasts fell into the river. Chapter 604. Styx River, also known as the River of Death, was one of the most dangerous places in the ghost world. It circled around the Jambu Mountain and was equivalent to the moat of Fengdu City. Fengdu City was only connected to the outside world by an iron chain bridge. It was easy to defend and difficult to attack. Therefore, Fengdu City had a unique advantage and became the most heavily guarded fortress in the ghost world. The water in Styx River had no buoyancy. Anything, even a feather, would sink immediately if it fell on it. Even if you were a swimmer, the fish in the water could not survive in Styx River. Once they fell into the river, they would be buried at the bottom. Even King Yenluo did not dare to take the risk. Thus, when he saw Tang Jing hiding among the 4 divine beasts and falling into the underworld river like a meteor, he hurriedly stopped his forward momentum and stopped on the towering walls of Fengdu City as he stared at the colossus with a burning gaze. The others also caught up and looked at this scene in a daze. Soon after, they were overjoyed. This guy was really reckless. He trespassed into Fengdu City and finally lost his life. However, King Yenluo and King Chakravarti were slightly disappointed because the 2 powerful magic treasures were buried at the bottom of the river and did not fall into their hands. Something is wrong. There is still 1 arrow left. King Yenluo suddenly had an idea. He turned around and ran. Finally, he found an arrow on the broken beam of the meeting hall. This was the shooting sun arrow shot by Tang Jing. Unfortunately, he could not retrieve it and it benefited King Yenluo. King Yenluo caressed the body of the arrow and waves of mana rippled. He was overjoyed. This must be a divine weapon. I must keep it and treat it as compensation for this loss. Whoosh! A strong wind blew. King Chakravarti stood in front of King Yenluo and stared at the shooting sun arrow. King Yenluo laughed mockingly and asked, "You want it?" King Chakravarti's expression changed. Of course he wanted it. He had seen the power of this arrow. It was not an ordinary magic treasure to be able to fight against King Yenluo's seal. However, the Chakravarti king wasn't as strong as the king of hell. Furthermore, this was the king of hell's territory. He didn't have any advantage in terms of timing, location, and people. Hence, he could only be envious and definitely wouldn't take it for himself. The Chakravarti king smiled sheepishly. Of course not. These are your spoils of war. Where's that guy? Sinking to the bottom of the Nether River means certain death. The Chakravarti king's face darkened. He was the cause of this incident. Not only did he not gain anything out of it, he even got himself into trouble. It's good that he's dead. Then there won't be anyone whose lifespan will increase for no reason in the future. This matter will come to an end for the time being. King Yama closed the coffin and concluded. The Chakravarti king nodded with a meaningful smile. However, he knew in his heart that the impact of this intruder on the ghost realm would definitely not be limited to this. The fact that the King Yenluo did not capture the intruder alive would cause his prestige to be tarnished, which would cause the other kings of hell to be restless. There would be undercurrents in the world of spirits and souls. Of course, Tang Zheng did not know that his actions would have such a huge impact on the world of spirits and souls. He was currently sinking rapidly to the bottom of the river. He had already tried to get out of the body of the 4 divine beasts, but he realized that the river water had no buoyancy at all. He was like a piece of heavy iron, sinking rapidly. Moreover, there was no oxygen in the river water. One must know that after he cultivated the dragon god technique, he could breathe freely in the water. However, there was no oxygen in the water here. There was nothing he could do and he would suffocate to death. He quickly got back into the body of the 4 divine beasts and used the remaining air to survive. However, when he saw Yi Xuanji's soul, his expression changed drastically. Yi Xuanji's soul had become much fainter, like a wisp of green smoke that was about to float away. What's going on? Tang Zheng was shocked. Yi Xuanji was in extreme pain. He said, "I feel like my body is about to fall apart. My life is slipping away bit by bit." Tang Zheng was shocked. This must be because of the river water. Otherwise, why did no one chase after him? With the style of King Yenluo and King Chakravarti, they would not just watch him fall to the bottom of the river. There must be something wrong with the river water that made them fearful and did not dare to step into it. Your soul is weakening. Soon, your soul will disperse. Tang Zheng circulated his energy and immediately understood what was going on with Yi Xuanji. Disperse? Yi Xuanji's expression changed drastically. He was scared out of his wits. After experiencing so many things, his nerves had become very weak. If it was a normal person, they would have been scared out of their wits. It was already commendable for him to be able to hold on until now. Tang Zheng, you must save me. You can't just watch me die. You are Dingdang's boyfriend. Yi Xuanji said anxiously. Tang Zheng was slightly startled. The Yi Xuanji in the past was not so weak and would not beg so humbly. It seemed that the incident in the ghost realm had a big impact on him. Even his temper and personality had changed a lot. Of course I won't just watch you die. But now, I can't even protect myself. Tang Zheng said calmly. Why? There's something wrong with this river. We can't go up. No, you must have a way. You can even come to the ghost realm. You must have a way to go ashore. Yi Xuanji said. Tang Zheng shook his head and smiled bitterly. He had already tried just now. The river was not wide. Under normal circumstances, he could drive the 4 divine beasts to walk along the riverbed. But just now, when he tried to move, the 4 divine beasts could not move. It was as if there was an invisible force in the river that imprisoned the 4 divine beasts. But Tang Zheng was not as calm as he looked. Since the river water could devour souls, he would soon follow in Yi Xuanji's footsteps. The river water flowed slowly. It circled around the Jambu mountain and flowed into the distance. The 4 divine beasts were carried by the river water to an unknown place. Yi Xuanji kept urging Tang Zheng to think of a way. It was like a swarm of flies buzzing around Tang Zheng's ears. Tang Zheng gradually became distracted. He could not concentrate at all. Suddenly, he frowned and could not help but scold, "Shut up. If you want to live, then be quiet." Yi Xuanji was stunned. If it was in the past, he would have long lost control of his temper, but at this moment, he was like a docile sheep, obediently shutting his mouth. He even glanced at Tang Zheng with a bit of reverence. At this moment, if Tang Zheng wanted to kill him, it would be as easy as flipping his hand. His little life was in Tang Zheng's hands. He did not dare to disobey Tang Zheng's wishes. Tang Zheng closed his eyes and rested. He circulated the ancient clear heaven scroll and divine dragon art to cultivate. Just now, he had suffered heavy injuries. In fact, he was already an arrow at the end of its flight. If he did not fall into the river Styx, he would have become King Yama's captive. But now that he was in a desperate situation, it was not much better. The most important thing now was to recover his strength and then think of a way to escape. Time passed little by little. Yi Xuanji's whole body was in pain as if 10,000 insects were biting him. But he gritted his teeth and endured it, so as not to affect Tang Zheng. Huff! Tang Zheng suddenly exhaled a long breath. It was as if a long sword had been spat out from his mouth. He felt refreshed. The congested blood in his body and the displaced internal organs were almost completely healed, so he stopped the healing. Opening his eyes, he saw Yi Xuanji's painful appearance. He nodded calmly and said, "Do you know why I came to save you?" Yi Xuanji shook his head weakly. "If it wasn't for the sake of Dingdang's family, why would I take the risk to make this trip?" "Yes, thank you." "You don't have to thank me. You should thank Dingdang's family." "Humph, your other son is obstructing me in every possible way. It seems that he doesn't want you to wake up." Tang Zheng did not mind taking the opportunity to make Yi Tianming look bad. Doesn't he know that he has always coveted the position of patriarch? "I won't let you have your way. On the contrary, Uncle Yi and Aunt Feng have always been good to me. I helped them to consolidate their strength in the Ye family. Of course, I am duty-bound to help them." "How dare you! When I go back, I must teach Tianming a lesson." Yi Xuanji was furious. "Humph, you raised a son for a lifetime, but in the end, you don't care about your life or death. Your life is really sad," Tang Zheng said jokingly. Yi Xuanji's face was ugly, but he had no way to refute. In fact, there were many power struggles in big families. There were countless cases of brothers and fathers fighting openly and secretly. In ancient times, there were many cases of princes killing their own father to become emperor. So, Yi Xuanji did not doubt Tang Zheng's words. This was equivalent to planting a seed of doubt in Yi Xuanji's heart. It was enough to make Yi Tianming suffer. Tang Zheng did not care about Yi Xuanji's thoughts. Instead, he channeled his energy to perceive the situation outside. The river was still flowing outside. It was dead silent. There were no creatures in the river. Moreover, this place was no longer under the Jambu mountain. He did not know where it had drifted to. "I'm afraid that King Yenluo and King Chakravarti already think that I am dead. This is good. If I can escape, then they will not continue to pursue the matter of the life-continuing pill. I will have time to carry out the plan of the 5-clawed golden dragon and use the tree of life to stir up the ghost realm." In fact, if he could return to the human realm, he would be fine even if he did not carry out the plan. However, after this trip to the ghost realm, he realized that the power of the ghost realm far exceeded that of the human realm. For the future of the human realm, the plan was urgent. His perception spread very slowly in the river. An invisible force was suppressing him, making it difficult for him to move. After a long time, he was almost exhausted. He hurriedly channeled his energy to recover. His breathing involuntarily became rapid. The oxygen in the body of the four symbols reverend had become very thin. Although he was trying his best to control his breathing rate, he was gradually in a state of hypoxia. Calm down. The more dangerous it is, the calmer it is. He kept silently reminding himself. However, his heart failed to live up to his expectations and beat violently. He hoped to absorb more oxygen to supply his body. After thinking about it, he tried all the possible methods. In the end, he found that he still could not drive the four symbols reverend to escape the river of death. His consciousness gradually became erratic. Only the sound of his heart beating was left in his ears. It was as if his heart was going to jump out of his throat. Chapter 605. Looking at Tang Zhang's situation, Yixuanji was extremely anxious, but there was nothing he could do. He wanted to keep urging him, but in the end, he held back. Tang Zhang felt that his soul was about to leave his body. The feeling of drifting was getting stronger and stronger, as if his soul was about to fly up into the sky. His heart was beating violently, and his breathing became hurried. He gasped for air, but there was too little air. After a while, the air was about to dry up. Bang! 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 Tang Zhang's breathing stopped, but the sound of his heartbeat reverberated in all directions, like the muffled sound of a heavy hammer hitting a drum, causing one's heart to tremble. A strong life force was constantly replenishing his 8 extraordinary meridians from his heart, and his pale cheeks immediately turned red. Whoosh! Tang Zhang's eyes suddenly opened, and a red light appeared, like a red sun. Looking at this pair of eyes, the dying Yixuanji was startled, and there was a tremor from the depths of his soul. This pair of eyes seemed to have magic. Ghost realm, river Styx, humph, you want to trap me just like that? Tang Zhang spoke, and his voice was completely different from before. Tang Zhang, quickly think of a way, don't dawdle. Yixuanji saw him talking to himself, and finally couldn't help but urge him. Who do you think you are? How dare you order me around? Tang Zhang's eyes flashed, and he glanced at Yixuanji. Yixuanji felt as if he was struck by lightning, and there was an explosion in his mind, as if his soul was about to completely scatter. You. How did you change? Yixuanji's expression changed greatly, and he asked in fear. Tang Zhang snorted, and didn't say anything. He waved his hands, and with 3 loud sounds, 3 undercurrents surged in the river Styx. 3 four symbols venerable appeared. 4 symbols venerable stood quietly on the riverbed, and they were extremely quiet, emitting an exceptionally mysterious aura. When Yixuanji saw this gigantic creature again, he still felt his heart palpitate. Back then, a single 4 symbols venerable was able to take care of the Chu family's patriarch, so he, Yixuanji, was simply not enough in front of this big fellow, let alone facing 4 of them at once. However, he still had huge doubts about Tang Zhang in his heart. What had happened to him? Whether it was his aura or his tone, it was completely different from before. When Yixuanji faced the current Tang Zhang, he even felt as insignificant as an ant. This was too absurd. A sliver of recollection appeared in Tang Zhang's eyes as he looked at the 4 symbols venerable. He muttered to himself, "For symbols venerable, you've been covered in dust for countless years. You're truly a pearl covered in dust. I hope you will shine brilliantly in the future and rebuild your former glory." Yixuanji still did not understand the specific meaning of this sentence, because, according to his point of view, the 4 symbols venerable was already powerful enough. If this was called a pearl covered in dust, then just how powerful was it back then? Let's get through this crisis first. Tang Zhang was in high spirits as he roared, "For symbols fusion." The four symbols venerable emitted a mysterious light as they gradually got closer to each other. In the end, they tightly stuck together. A miraculous scene appeared. These four giants actually quickly fused with each other and were gradually enveloped by the light that burst out. After a while, they turned into a ball of light, and the true appearance of the four symbols venerable could not be seen clearly. Crack! As if lightning streaked across the night sky, a ray of light swept across the deathly still water of the Styx River, causing the river water to boil like boiling water. Gurgle. Large bubbles rolled up from the river water, rushing to the surface. As the light dissipated, the four symbols venerable revealed their true appearance. The four symbols venerable had actually fused into one, becoming a four symbols venerable. This four symbols venerable's power was clearly more mysterious and powerful. Swoosh! The four symbols venerable's eyes suddenly opened. Two rays of light shot forward like lightning. His eyeballs also started rolling, filled with boundless vitality, completely different from the previous puppet. Master, you've finally awakened me. A pleasantly surprised voice resounded in his ears. Yi Xuanji was confused. He looked around but could not find the source of the voice. However, his gaze immediately fell on Tang Zheng, staring at him in disbelief. Who's calling master? Who's this master? Could it be that brat Tang Zheng? Yi Xuanji had mixed feelings, but his mind was also shaken. His question was immediately answered. Tang Zheng arrogantly ordered, and said condescendingly, "Take us out of the river Styx." "Yes, master." The four symbols venerable nodded. His body shone brightly as he kicked off the riverbed. Splash! The river water automatically parted to two sides, as if there was an invisible force forcing the river water, making it unable to resist. The water of the Styx River, which had no buoyancy and could devour everything, was actually unable to trap the four symbols venerable. The four symbols venerable soared into the sky. Splash! He brought Tang Zheng and Yi Xuanji to the surface of the water. The four symbols venerable rapidly approached the riverbank as if he was walking on flat ground. Finally, the four symbols venerable came ashore. "Get out!" Before the water on his body had dried, Tang Zheng coldly shouted at Yi Xuanji. Yi Xuanji felt the world spin around him and the scene before his eyes changed. He had actually left the four symbols venerable's body and stepped onto the hard riverbank. Yi Xuanji looked up at the four symbols venerable and silently wondered what kind of existence Tang Zheng was in there. Although he had been reprimanded by Tang Zheng, Yi Xuanji could not feel the slightest bit of anger. This was because, from Tang Zheng's tone and demeanor, it was as if that sentence and attitude were only natural. Talking to Yi Xuanji was like a gift from the heavens. "It was a great honor for you." This feeling was very strange. It made Yi Xuanji feel both respect and fear. Because of the Styx River's devouring, Yi Xuanji's soul had become very faint. It felt as if it could float away at any time. There was nothing he could do. He could only look at the four symbols venerable and imagine what was going on inside. Tang Zheng looked around, his eyes rippling. He emotionally stroked the inner wall of the four symbols venerable and said emotionally, "How many years has it been? I always thought that I would never have the chance to see you again. I never thought that we would meet again. Master, if you raise your arm and call, all of the 9 Li tribe's old subordinates will continue to follow you and rebuild their former glory." The four symbols venerable said emotionally. Tang Zheng's eyes flashed. "This day will come one day. I believe it's not far away. I'm currently residing in this brat's body, so I'm temporarily unable to use my former power. That's this brat's honor. In the future, he will also have the chance to follow master." The four symbols venerable said. Tang Zheng's smile was very strange. How could a celestial follow someone else so easily? A celestial is the leader of a heavenly king, the king. As long as others follow him, he will always stand proudly at the bow of the ship. The four symbols venerable was shocked and said meaningfully, "Then we definitely can't let him live in this world." Tang Zheng laughed noncommittally. His laughter was strange and gave people a hair-raising feeling. I've already fused the sword's soul into his battle soul sword. This can be considered giving him a little benefit. This brat probably won't be able to guess my true thoughts even in his dreams. The four symbols venerable cried out in shock. Master gave him the sword soul. This is the sword soul of Master's sword back then. It's a peerless treasure. This is only temporary. Tang Zheng said meaningfully, from now on, your consciousness has already been revived. You will also need to follow by his side. However, during the time I've been in contact with him, I've discovered that this brat is too smart. If there's even the slightest movement, he'll find clues. To be safe, I'll erase your memories from just now. You need to serve him with all your heart, just like how you treat me. Protect him thoroughly. Master, then when can I see you again? The four symbols venerable asked reluctantly. When the time is right, we'll naturally meet again. The four symbols venerable really wanted to ask his master what exactly his plans were, but he swallowed the words back down. His eyes burned with passion, as if he was recalling the days when his blood surged. Tang Zheng raised his head and suddenly pressed a spot on the wall. The wall shone brightly, then disappeared without a trace with a whoosh. The memories of the four symbols venerable had been completely erased. Tang Zheng slowly closed his eyes, the red in his eyes disappearing. What's going on? Tang Zheng suddenly woke up and opened his eyes. He discovered that he was actually still alive and standing safely inside the four symbols venerable's body. The air had become abundant again. We've escaped the river Styx. Tang Zheng was overjoyed. How did I know that was the river Styx? In the past, he suddenly patted his head and felt a little dizzy, as if he had just fallen asleep. Master. The four symbols venerable's voice rang out. Who is it? Who's talking? Tang Zheng was shocked and immediately turned pale with fright. Master, I'm the four symbols venerable. The four symbols venerable? How can you speak? Tang Zheng was dumbstruck. I don't know either, but someone used the four symbols fusion technique and combined the four symbols venerable. Then I gained consciousness. The four symbols fusion technique. Tang Zheng's eyes gradually became deep as he recalled the matter of the sword attendant. Back then, a series of mysterious events had occurred while he was unconscious. He concluded that it was definitely the work of Chi Yu's heart. Could it be that this was also the work of Chi Yu's heart? Recently, Chi Yu's heart had been very active. Venerable four symbols, does all of this have anything to do with Chi Yu's heart? Tang Zheng asked straightforwardly. Back then, the sword soul's memories had been completely erased, making it impossible for him to truly investigate. Thus, he placed his hopes on the four symbols venerable. The four symbols venerable said blankly, I don't know either. Tang Zheng couldn't help but feel discouraged. Whether there was a mistake or not, no one knew. This Chi Yu's heart was too mysterious, not leaving behind any clues. Master, we shouldn't stay here for long. Let's leave first. Tang Zheng seemed to have woken up from a dream. This was the ghost realm. If they were discovered, it would be terrible. He could slowly think about all the problems after returning. When Tang Zheng walked out of the four symbols venerable's body, he discovered that Yi Xuanji was looking at him as if he was looking at the stars and the moon. When he saw his figure, he was suddenly startled, and then became wild with joy. He directly pounced towards Tang Zheng, like a drowning person grabbing onto a life-saving straw, tightly grabbing onto Tang Zheng's arm. He was incomparably excited, but his expression was filled with reverence. You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.